It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 6th. Good morning. I'm feeling free as a bird. Nothing like a 6-minute guitar solo to kick off the day, man. I looked up
16 minutes.
There was like 3 minutes left in the song, and I'm just imagining, like the engineer in the studio looking up, and the producer's like, "It's okay, we're just getting started. It's all good." As I just mentioned, it's June 6th, the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Good Lord. Zepp and I are just sitting here talking about that very fact. The most impactful, arguably the most important military day in United States history. You could make a strong case. Obviously there's Revolutionary War moments, there's Civil War moments, there's D-Day, whatever your short list is. For anybody still with us who served, for anybody whose loved ones served, thank you. You can't overstate the importance of this day 80 years ago.
No. I mean, it's, it literally, the world pivoted. Our civilization pivoted on that day, and we sit here because of it in the way that we sit here. I did see that one 102-year-old vet on his way back to Normandy passed away. And didn't quite make it all the way back, but still some veterans of World War II will be there today for the ceremony. So unbelievable.
In 1992, Rosemary and I went up to Normandy and walked around, went to Omaha and went to the cemeteries and just spent a whole day with a buddy of ours, a French kid who'd been an exchange student who lived with my family when I was a kid. Always stayed in touch, and he took us up there. And boy, I tell you what, I'm speechless to try to get my arms around what that is, to see those beaches in person and to imagine that day. And we've all seen, hopefully, Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan or any number of things, documentaries. But boy, standing on that beach is one of the moments of my life that I just remember, just with every step closer to the water, just the enormity of it. Every minute we spent in Normandy was just overwhelming, just emotionally. And my dad graduated high school in 46. I mean, he missed it, you know. I had an uncle who served, but he was in the Pacific. I don't have direct family that was at D-Day, but don't need it to get there and be overwhelmed with what that accomplished and what everybody involved went through.
Yeah, texting with a buddy of mine last night, and maybe we'll hear from him yet this morning. I invited him to call in, and a name that we know well here on KQ92, and I believe it was his grandfather that was, in the landing at Normandy, and he went over there and did a Stephen Ambrose tour with Stephen Ambrose, visited all 5 beaches and talked about how impactful that was. But on this morning, I'm just reading some stats, 160,000 Allied troops. Now, remember, by the time D-Day launched this morning and they hit the beaches roughly about 7:30 a.m. over there, 2.8 million Allied troops were stationed in southern England at that time. 160,000 would participate. 5,000 ships, 13,000 aircraft. Doesn't have the stat here, but you mentioned before, Steve, that over 20,000 airborne troopers dropped in.
If you saw Band of Brothers, the guys who went over the day ahead and were parachuting in behind enemy lines, 20,000 of those.
20,000. What that must have looked like.
Yeah, the numbers are just overwhelming. It's an astonishing thing. And, it's funny because this is the 80th anniversary. I remember very clearly the 40th and the 50th and the 60th every 10 years on this day since. I don't remember the 30th in 1974, but boy, everyone since. So it's a day of, if nothing else, a moment of reflection to just think, oh my gosh, like you said, the history of certainly our and many other countries pivoted on this day. So to everyone who took part and to everyone who has loved ones who did, as an American, it's just, hey, hurrah. What do we say? Man. Whew, baby.
A big one for that as well. But that's, I would recommend, just because I just found it yesterday and everybody's going, where you been? But 20 years after the landing at D-Day, Walter Cronkite got together with Dwight D. Eisenhower, and they did a documentary, a 2-hour documentary, where Dwight Eisenhower just runs you through everything from day, what do they call it, before D-Day plus 5, I think he starts. They go, Walter Cronkite don't you wish you could interview like Walter Cronkite?
Yeah,
Every one of his questions was 4 words.
Yep.
And then just impactful. But anyway, it's a wonderful 2-hour documentary that at the time in 1964 was broadcast over 20 countries. I found it on YouTube. Very compelling, right from the horse's mouth. And he'll run you through everything. Lots of things I didn't know. And I didn't even know that documentary existed. But it's out there. And you want to track that down. Walter Cronkite, CBS, with Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 20th anniversary of D-Day.
Far less impactful information to share with you today. The NBA Finals start tonight. If the Timberwolves had defeated the Mavs, we would have spent the last 5 days just climbing the walls. Mm-hmm. I have one of my closest friends is a lifelong Boston guy, Celtics fanatic, and he texts me every day. He's been waiting 8 days since their last game, I think.
Poor son of a bitch.
Losing his mind. And I'm like, and every day I go, oh, so you're still playing? Okay, relax.
Yeah.
You have something to look forward to? Chill out, dude.
Yeah.
But excited that Porzingis is back.
He's very excited. Everybody is.
I had some of that for breakfast this morning.
Speaking of having for breakfast, Vikings. So when last we checked in with the Timberwolves, we were very excited about Charles Barkley's return. And, of course, there was a whole thing about what's he going to eat when he's in town. He was looking for restaurant recommendations. The Vikings are back in. There's some camps happening. Dalton Reisner, a offensive lineman, has re-signed with the team. And he was asked, hey, you're back in town now. What would you recommend as far as food goes? What are you missing? Dalton Reisner was, as they say, ready for the exam to begin. Listen to this.
The first spot, Taco Libre. Great joint, man. Oh, my gosh. I get a mega quesadilla. They got a little salsa bar, horchata. Then Tono's cheesesteaks and pizza, dude. I get the South Philly, 2 over easy eggs, some bacon, caramelized onion, green peppers on a bed of French fries. Come on, dog. And then I wrap off the day at Kindred Hearth with a couple soy eggs on my Caesar salad with a tavern pizza, hot honey, pepperoni, jalapeno. Come on. And then only place I haven't been again to yet is Nashville Coop. So I'm probably going to go there. Probably need to chill out a little bit. I need to relax just a little.
No.
So I'll say, you got a little break in between here and camp. So, screw it. I'm going to go to Nashville Coop tonight.
There you go.
I think he's in
God
my
bless you guys,
neighborhood.
man. Skol Vikings.
Skol Vikings.
Named all these places that I live by.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Yeah, those are all
Tony,
in your
you got to do that this weekend, man. You got to.
Make
I don't
the
know how
same
many
stops.
We should have a contest where we have listeners. The first listener that can go out and recreate that menu can ingest all of that food in. I don't know what would they need. 48 hours, 72 hours, a month.
I mean, maybe the 3 of us just strap on feed bags.
I'm ready.
We just tag team our way through this.
Yeah, all 3 of us combined probably could knock out.
I'm worried about the. It's like any French person you ever talk to.
Yeah.
Soy eggs on a Caesar salad. What is a soy egg? I'm a little nervous about
what a
that.
soy egg is.
This egg substitute, perhaps.
Did you ever have when the kids were little, those Tafuti Cuties, little soy ice cream ice cream bars, but they're made with, and of course they're very healthy. And we bought a box once, and the kids didn't know the difference between that and ice cream. I guess that's fine. I ate one, it destroyed my stomach, and I was like, no, that's not it. It was like soy, it's healthy. Had another one a week later, it destroyed my stomach. And then I started on this path. There are a lot of soy-based products that will just put me in cramps. And so I was like, no, I need to eat ice cream. It's for my health. It's for my gut health. Sorry, I can't have your soy ice cream.
Maybe it's high FODMAP. I don't know.
What's that?
High FODMAP. You don't have gut issues. If you had anyone out there that just shook their head, has gut issues. That's FODMAP.
Glad to be completely in the dark.
It gives you the foods that give you the squirts.
Okay. All right. Good to know. We are just about at the end of graduation and commencement season for high school kids. We would be remiss if we didn't share a few of the all-time great senior year quotes. Did you have one? Think about it. What'd you come up with? 651-989-ROCK. If you have a good one, feel free to share it on the talk or text line. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Thursday, June the 6th. We're just about done with commencement season. If you haven't graduated high school yet and you're supposed to, get on the stick, man. It's June 6th. Get out and have a good summer.
Yeah.
Some of these things are stretching out way too long. When I was a kid, I in my mind, Memorial Day and Labor Day, you just were done in between.
Yeah.
And now, so where I moved up here from Nashville, school starts August 1st down there.
Oh,
I mean,
it
it's
does.
crazy. You're out.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
out at the end of May, and then you have June and July. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, we ran it late into May. I don't know why they do here in Minnesota, but we always had 2 or sometimes 3 weeks off in the spring, like in March. We'd take like most of March off.
Oh, no kidding.
So the kids could go farm.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that just out of necessity?
The
Had to
old
get the farm
kids-
ready?
Yeah, back in the 1940s when I grew up.
Yeah,
no,
right.
we're still doing it out there. I mentioned it to people. They're like, what, like dragging a plow? What were you guys doing out there? But no, we were farming. But, yeah, so we'd often, it always seemed to me because the same thing, Memorial Day weekend, I was like, hey, you get the big 3-day weekend and you go out and party, and then you had to go back to school for one phone-it-in week.
Oh, man.
Where
Wow.
no one
Yeah.
did squat.
Yeah, our graduation came on the heels of the senior trip to Florida. My
okay.
school, tiny school, so we would there was an organized official senior trip with a couple teachers would go as chaperones. Maybe, sadly, not for me, but for some classes, every now and again, it would actually be a parent would be involved. It's like, what do you?
Yeah.
Oh God, come on, what are you
running
nuts?
it out.
What's the point? All got back from Florida, graduate. I got back for my high school graduation. I remember 2 things from the ceremony. One, my oldest brother and my oldest sister both came in for it from D.C. and South Carolina, respectively. And when I got back from Florida, they were at the house, and I was like, "What's wrong? What happened?" They were like, "You're graduating high school tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, but what's wrong? Why are you here?" They're like, and I was like, "Oh, I mean, I was blown away." I was like, "Wait, you guys traveled here for my? Oh, that's so nice." I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I was like, "Wow, I guess I do matter." in the
I
grand
was going to
scheme of
skip
things.
my graduation, but yeah, we had people come out from Pennsylvania, and my mom said, "Don't you dare!" I was a little drunk at my graduation, but I showed up.
Nice. I want to know. I was given an award that was called the Center College Award. Center College is a school in Kentucky, a private university, and one of the teachers' husbands had gone there, and he stood up and he said, "We're going to give the first annual Center College Award." It was like a $500 scholarship to wherever you go to school, but and he explained the value of Center College and what he learned there, and one person signifies all this crap. Didn't hear a word he said. I was literally just like, get on with it. I'm not going to.
I got to pee.
And that guy called my name, and I was like, what did he?
Holy
what?
smokes.
And the guy next to me, Brad, goes, "Dude, go! You just won an award." And I go, "What did he say it was?" He
They
goes, "Just
sprung
get
it
up
on you?
there." I'm like, "Yeah." And I just walked up and took it. To this day, I have no idea what
I
the
didn't
hell
know
that
there were
thing meant.
surprise awards at graduation. You and I went to some really small classes. Our graduation had to be pretty quick. I think mine was like a half hour.
Yeah,
that
it was in and out.
Tony, you
12
probably
students.
had what, 1,200 kids in
We
your
had
graduating class?
600 to 700, yeah.
600 to 700. Yeah, that's how many they had in Prior Lake.
Yeah.
For my 2 daughters, whose names ends in Z.
Oh Lord, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, by the
Think
way,
about that.
Angie texted in on the KQ Talking text line, a soy egg is a real egg. It's hard-boiled and marinated in soy and spices. She said it's amazing.
Oh, that does sound
finally
pretty good,
cleared that
actually.
up.
I won't believe it until someone brings one by the radio station, 2000 Southeast Elm Street.
Yeah.
You can leave it outside in a basket like an Easter egg.
First and most important memory of your commencement ceremony, Tony, is there one thing that hits you?
Yeah, well, I think I told you guys I was offered $100 to fall down the
Oh,
stairs
that's right. That's right.
at my commencement because I did it in the rehearsal
Yeah.
to crack my friends up, but I didn't want to embarrass my parents. So.
Good boy.
Good boy.
This is from someone named Savannah. We all go to throw our caps and give that liberating class of 2013 scream. Someone tosses a blow-up sex doll into the air. Of course, it's hilarious. We're all chuckling. I couldn't help but laugh twice because we were sitting in a church sanctuary. A sex doll was crowd surfing the fresh graduates in the house of God.
Awesome.
It only lasted a few moments before faculty came over and popped the poor naked
Oh,
lady.
the faculty had that same surprise look on their face as the sex doll.
Yeah, that's exactly. Whoa. Did you guys have senior quotes? My yearbook for the first year, my senior class, they said we're going to give you guys senior quotes, and then we all submitted them, and then they were like, "Oh, we ran out of time," and they didn't make it in. And,
Had to go to print.
I know, and I was really feeling good about mine. It was a lyric from an English beat song, and it was as follows: "In a yard, you know, for guan like you hard, eh?" I have no idea what any of those words mean, but that was my senior quote. And to this day, I'm convinced they were like, let's just not do it. We don't want to have to ask him what that means. We don't want to have to answer.
We're not going to print it. Yeah, right.
But the senior quotes, my kids had them in their class. I don't remember either one, but I was really pleased with both. Like, they both hit it perfectly out of the park. And I wish I could say I remember them, but both times I was like, hey, all right. You put some thought into this. It really made sense.
Unless something really goes off the rails, does anyone remember their high school graduation? I mean, not much of it, the after party, but the shenanigans you remember. But yeah, that's about it.
Here, this is a legitimate senior quote from a yearbook. Not pregnant, just eating good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, just go ahead and print that thing right up there. I like this one. In this photo, I'm not wearing pants. That is a good senior quote.
That is good.
Because, I just imagine the person's that fake smile, the Olin Mills smile.
Yeah. Yeah, what is it about having graduations and high school auditoriums where they have to shut down not only the air conditioning, but any fan or vent in the place? It's got to be as stifling as possible.
Very important. My son's graduation was the school my kids went to. They do it outside in a giant tent. They set up the huge tent, and they have those big fans blowing. So 2019, it was 101 degrees outside. I'm not exaggerating. In late May, and it was it was like I walked my mom back across the street into the building. I was like, Mom, this ain't gonna work for you. 2 years later, my daughter graduated in 21, a total COVID senior year, and it was like 68 degrees, and the difference in the two ceremonies was. Everybody
it's that time of year, right?
Everybody at Marley's ceremony was just like, oh, isn't this the most beautiful? I can't believe they're graduating. 2 years earlier, everyone's just sitting there like, oh my God, I want to die out here. It was just the most miserable experience ever.
Prior Lake, they did theirs in the high school football stadium there, and there is no tent. And it rained for Taylor's, I think, 11. Was she graduating 11? That's such a terrible memory. But yeah, so her senior pictures, we got all sorts of pictures of her that were with her. We had umbrellas. She just looked like a drowned rat. Very happy drowned rat.
Sure, very happy. Here's one last one, quickly. One senior quote. All our parents had sex the same year, so that's awesome.
All right, parents.
That explains it all. Good moments from your commencement or your kids, whatever. Anything off the grid that you weren't expecting, hit us up on the KQ Talk and Text line 651-989 Rock. We are getting some good text messages in already. Keep them coming. We have to prepare ourselves for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talk and Text line. Graduation commencement moments you remember. Great text just in. At my graduation, my dad took pics of my friend thinking it was me. I have no pictures of that event except one that a friend took.
Classic dad moment.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. There we go. Got it. Yep. These are great.
It's you're going by hair alone. They're wearing the gowns and the caps.
Yeah.
I was just at one recently. It was my nephew, and is that him? Where's he at? You try to go by the alphabet. What row would they be in? Yeah, I get it, Dad. You tried.
A for effort. How about we go on to the Mike Evans Hollywood Report?
Hey, good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Good morning, Steve and Zap and Tony. Good morning, everybody. One more day, we got the weekend. And with the weekend, don't forget, new movies opening up at Marcus Theaters. Marcus Theaters, the best movie chain in the entire country. And don't forget, every Tuesday, $6 gets you into any Marcus Theater to see any movie. Only at Marcus Theaters. I'm still in Palm Springs. It's still hot, but boy, enjoying a lot of early morning golf. We start off with a love nugget today. So Sofia Vergara is now dating Dr. Justin Salmon. And it sounds serious. One interesting thing about Sofia Vergara, she swears that she will never date another actor. She says there's no house that's big enough for all the egos if there were two living in the same house that were actors. I kind of agree. So if you don't have a significant other and are interested in maybe finding one online, interesting survey, a breakdown of what percentage of people of what ages use online dating apps. I thought it was interesting. Ages 18 to 29, 79%. 30 to 49, 44%. 50 to 64, 17%. And people over 65 1%. Seniors say that that's looking for love in all the wrong places. So good luck. TV news, Kevin James, probably best known for his Mall Cop movie franchise, has signed with Village Roadshow and Netflix to do a 6 limited series on the life of golf's wild man, John Daly. He is perfect to play John Daly and guarantee it'll be hilarious, entertaining, and from what I know about John Daly, probably a little shocking. Look, I was going to ignore this, but I can't. I just can't. Alec Baldwin, for years and years and years, made no secret how he hated reality TV and reality TV shows. One time said that anybody in the industry that would do reality television should be ashamed of themselves. But with Alec's involuntary manslaughter trial coming up, he'll do anything to improve his public image. So Alec is forcing his long-suffering wife, Hillary, and their 7 children to do an ongoing reality show for the TLC. How embarrassing. Hey, I saw a picture of Christy Brinkley yesterday. She's 70 years old. I was floored. She looks about 40, and her body's got to be a 10. I mean, I can't believe it. She also swears no surgeries. Okay. Tomorrow, movie reviews and headed back home from Palm Springs. However, I got a warning today. Don't let me catch any of you folks watching Faraway Downs. It's a limited TV series, only about 6 episodes. Stars Hugh Jackman, Nicole Kidman, and a couple of other stars. This is the worst limited series I have ever seen. The acting is horrible. The writing is horrible. So please, do both of us a favor. Stay far away from Faraway Downs. Movie reviews tomorrow on Friday. Can't wait. And I'm headed home. Mike Evans, see ya.
There you have the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Hey, check this out. It is time to nominate your dad for KQ's Father of the Year. Tell us about your pops and why he is the coolest at 92KQRS.com. We will put it to a vote next week. KQ's Father of the Year. You're not eligible, Brian. Relax.
No, Taylor, Sydney, if you're listening, just stop right now.
You're not eligible.
Yeah,
KQ's Father of the
was.
Year will take home a brand new grill from Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores, 500 clams for stuff at Dennis Kirk, and some KQ gear sponsored by Dennis Kirk and Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores. Complete contest rules at 92KQRS.com. Let's look back. Oh, I'll tell you what's up. On this day in 1944, Game 1 of the World War II finals, we kicked the living snot out of Germany at Omaha Beach. All across Normandy, we let them know what was up. On this day in 1996, baseball's executive council told Marge Schott, owner of the Cincinnati Reds, she had to go.
Oh.
She caused controversy with all those comments she made concerning all the good stuff Adolf Hitler did before he went crazy.
Yeah,
Nazi the Nazi.
Yeah, you can't point out the good stuff.
The good old days when someone would mention the good things a fascist dictator had done and immediately be forced to go away. 1946, on this day, 2 years after the invasion of Normandy, the NBA was formed. Go figure, 11 teams originally part of the NBA, 3 of whom are still around. The Warriors, the Celtics, and the Knicks have been there from day one. That is it. The Chicago Stags, the Pittsburgh Iron Men. Wow. Yeah. The St. Louis Bombers, the Detroit Falcons, all gone the way of the dodo. It was 1982 before all the finals games were broadcast live.
No kidding.
That's 36 years of the NBA before they made it to the big time. So the WNBA ahead of the schedule, ahead of that pace for sure.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. I'm saying it takes a while to establish a new league.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 6th. Good morning. One time with the family in a car in Florida, we drove through a safari, one of those places you drive by and they're like, we've got all sorts of wild animals like tigers and lions and different things, and you stay in your car and you keep your windows up, and nothing came within 100 feet of the car. None of the animals could barely be bothered to stand up. It was just a hot, muggy day in Florida, and it was kind of depressing, and my kids were like, I don't think animals are supposed to be here. Well,
It's like Bear Country, USA, out in the Black Hills. We have that. You drive into this compound, and there's just a bunch of fat, mangy bears laying under trees in the dirt trying to...
Then you realize, it's not probably a great idea.
No,
it's definitely not good for the animals.
Depressing, yeah.
But sometimes you go to a wildlife park, and the animals are pretty active. They're pretty fun. They're kind of doing what you hope they would do. There's a place in Texas that has, among other things, giraffes, which... if you get to a zoo and you're up close to a giraffe, they really are, like, the more you look at them, they make less sense, I mean, you just, like, honest to God, hey, evolution, what kind of sense of humor are you working here? But, they're just so bizarre looking in every possible way.
Weird, huge muscle, on top of that's their neck. It's watching them fight or breed out at the Minnesota Zoo. That's something you got to take the kids out for.
Lock necks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there is a wildlife park in Texas that's full of them, and video and audio capturing the moment when a giraffe was. They have a. They're on the drive-through safari tour, and there's a family driving, and they are in a car with the truck with the open air top. Like you can put your hands up, and the giraffe shows up, and he puts his head down so you can feed the giraffe.
That's a horrible idea.
Really, really bad idea, especially if you're holding on to a 2-year-old child. We'll play you the audio first, then we'll tell you what's happening here.
You want to feed the giraffe? Feed him. Look, feed him. Come here. Look. Oh, look. Oh.
You get the laugh. Oh, look. And then, hey. So what happened was the giraffe grabbed the 2-year-old by the shirt and just lifts him right out of his mom's hands.
I'll take that snack right there.
It's watermelon.
I think it was, do you think it was trying to rescue it from this mother?
You want to
Probably
feed the giraffe? Feed him. Look, feed him. Come here.
Yep.
The mom's only 11 years old.
Look.
The giraffe's maternal instinct kicked in and went, that's a child in distress.
I'll take that kid.
So the giraffe, there is video. The giraffe grabs the girl's shirt with its teeth, lifts her out, and then the mom immediately reaches up and grabs the child back. And the giraffe doesn't go in for round 2. The giraffe's like, oh, my bad. I was just trying to help out. But yeah, you gotta keep your hands on your kids when wild animals like, I don't know, giraffes are about. And by the way, do you want to feed the giraffe? What it's a 2-year-old.
Yeah. First of all, you shouldn't be feeding wild animals. I understand this giraffe may have been born in captivity and is somewhat domesticated, but it just never makes sense to be feeding any animal that has that wild gene still bred into it.
And especially
with
not
a 2-year-old in your arms. Yeah.
That's the same mom who, when the child's 4, is like, say thank you to the stranger who looks weird. Like, don't tell your kid. Let your kids be nervous around strangers. It's a good impulse.
Yeah, back when they used to feed all the bears at Yellowstone, and that was a big thing, and then they realized that was bad for the bears and the people because the bears wanted food, whether you had some or not. There was an old bit on SNL, I remember growing up, and Dan Aykroyd was on a talk show. They were doing like a Dick Cavett kind of thing, and he had a book called Mauled, and he came out and his face was just all twisted up and scarred, and said he tried to feed a bear with a marshmallow with his teeth, and that's what happened. And he goes, I don't know what went wrong, but he got mauled, and same kind of deal. Yeah, just take a peek and don't try and feed them.
Probably got half dozen times a year where somebody at a park like that approaches a bear or a bison or any number of things.
This week in Yellowstone, 83-year-old woman.
That's right.
Airlifted out of there because she wanted to get up close to the bison. It launched Grandma, and I don't know whatever happened.
How do you make it? How do you make it to 83 when your impulse is to get near a bison? How has she made it? How did you make it to 13?
Why are you letting Grandma wander? Hey, Grandma, get over next to the bison and let's get a picture with you.
Well, Grandma's an ex-bullfighter. She was fine.
Possibly. Or Grandma's sitting on quite a kitty. You know what I'm saying? Let's get really, they're very docile animals, Graham. Go for it.
Oh, and then a guy in Alaska photographing a cow moose. She had a couple of calves with her. This was just 2 days ago, I believe, and that cow ended up mauling him to death.
I learned a lesson very early in life, which is no matter how big a wild animal is, it's still going to mess with you. Yeah, you might win the war, but it's going to win the first battle.
Yeah,
because you're not expecting it. I was chased by a goose as a child, and it traumatized. but that thing was going to kill me if it had caught me.
There's a guy out in Montana. He rescued a bobcat pup or I don't know what they call them,
Kit,
but
kitten,
is that
kitten,
what it is? Something like
kitten,
that? Yeah, something
I guess,
like that.
I don't know.
A little bobcat, and just a little tiny thing. Its eyes weren't even open yet. It was going to die out in the wild. He thought, I'm taking it home. I'm going to raise it. It's going to be my pet. No,
you're not.
And I said, what happened? He said, well, I hung on to it for like a year, got to about full mature size. There it is right there. He said, but it never really did tame down. And he goes, I just, after, tearing me half to pieces for the 5th time, I just opened the trailer. He lived in a trailer out there in Montana.
Push.
So I just opened the door and let it go.
I remember a few years ago, the one thing I saw that still blew me away more than anything was a guy out west who does live with wolverines. And they are chill around him. He's got it's like
to a degree. I know it's like the bear guy up in Alaska that lived with them, and then
that was a little different. I mean, this guy literally has had wolverines since they were born in second generation, and like he's not. They're not lap cats, but they're totally cool. They have a good system going. There was a PBS documentary on because nobody had seen a wolverine south of the Canadian border for like 100 years, and then in the late 90s they put some trail cans up, like in the the Sierra Nevada mountains. They just put these trail cams up, and like in the first night, they're like, "Hey, there's a bunch of wolverines." Like they're so good at hiding from people. They have not been seen, not a documented sighting in 100 years. And as soon as somebody put action triggered trail cams, all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, there's wolverines all over the place." Well,
probably good for the wolverine.
And you could, if you Google "dude with wolverines," it probably pops up. It was like a PBS thing, and I remember seeing that. And the whole time I watched it, I kept thinking the next second is when it's going to turn on him, and it never did. I was like, I was disappointed. I was like, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop for 49 minutes, and it never did.
I think the best example probably is Siegfried and Roy. Raised those bad boys. I mean, bottle fed them,
and kept them drugged.
And kept them drugged. And it backfired on them somehow.
Yeah,
but that wild gene, once it's in there, it would take centuries probably to domesticate those animals fully. So keep your space, keep your distance.
And no matter what the animal is, again, you don't want to cross a wild animal. At the end of the day, it's a wild animal. Even if it's like a wild turkey, a turkey vulture. Okay, turkey vultures, they're
beautiful bird.
Just the most beautiful birds.
So majestic.
So in Iowa, there's an awful lot of turkey vultures in the spring every year. They're migrating south at the first frost. March and April, they show up everywhere. And non-breeding turkey vultures will gather in large groups, as we've all seen. Like, you don't ever see one. If you see one, his friends are just around the corner. And they will get in tall trees, cell phone towers, or other tall roosts. And so in Iowa, there's a city called Guthrie Center, and they keep finding, year in and year out, there's just more and more of these turkey vultures that come through in the spring. They're trying to figure out how to deal with them. And so
12 gauge?
A wildlife biologist with the state says you can legally harass the birds with sound, or you can spray water, but it's not without risk. And here's a great quote. This is where it gets a little tricky, because if there's a big buildup of birds, one of the first things we'll tell people is, all right, try to haze them or scare them out of the area. But if you're scaring them, the defense mechanism is to throw up. And, well, you got to deal with that, because turkey vulture vomit is heavily acidic.
Really?
And it can damage any painted surface that they puke on. It'll just
Not
eat
next to
through
the
all
truck.
kinds of things. And then if that fails, the city is called Guthrie Center. They have obtained a permit to shoot up to 5, and then they hang them in effigy to scare off the rest. That actually works, apparently.
Puts their head on a pike, and
man, it's incredible.
Look what happened to Larry.
That's what I'm saying. Like, does that really help?
It seems like it'd be a fair warning. I guess.
Turkey vultures are a federally protected species. So if anyone doing the shooting you have to be a conservation officer, or else you're breaking the law. But still, so even like a turkey vulture. Well, no one's messing with a turkey vulture. They have that reputation precedes them.
Yeah,
acid spewing turkey vultures.
Acid spewing turkey vultures. Yeah.
What did we have? Flying spiders yesterday. Yeah. We're turning into frickin' Australia here.
Yeah, we're trying. We're
the
trying
Midwest.
our best.
It's getting dangerous here in the Midwest. We don't like that. That's the Southeast, maybe the Southwest, but not here in the Midwest.
Okay, but now let's get on to how insane some people are. This is Oh wow! This is in England. A gentleman walks up to a camping and outdoor shop, like a REI or a Dick's or some store. Surveillance cameras pick him up. He's right outside the front doors while they're not open, and he decides he's got to take care of business. He's got to drop a deuce.
No.
He squats down at the front doors and defecates.
What?
He's there for 40 minutes.
Stage for
It's 40 minutes.
40.
First of all,
plenty of time to get to a public bathroom.
First of all, great leg strength.
Yeah, that's
You ever
squat.
try a wall sit for 40 minutes?
I do to get.
Damn near impossible.
That's my half-ass attempt to get in shape for ski season every year. Just like the day before I go, I'm like, I better do a wall sit. And 30 seconds later, I collapse.
Great for lowering the blood pressure, by the way.
Is it?
The wall sit.
All
They
right.
say real direct connection. If you're doing wall sits regularly, it keeps that blood pressure down.
He's in full squat here for 40 minutes.
40 minutes, and the shop has shared footage in the hopes that someone will recognize him and he
It's
can realize,
tiny.
hey, this isn't cool, man. The police are not too concerned. They're like, well, it's just a cleanup, isn't it? You know, they're not sweating it. But 40 minutes. I mean, first of all, my thoughts are this. Number one, as I shared, great lower body strength. And two, can we get this guy some fiber?
It's a little bit something, some Metamucil. Mix something in there for him. That's it, maybe meth. I don't know.
I'll tell you, here's a true
Back
story. The longest I ever spent in that situation, not with like diarrhea or food poisoning, but I once also had to take care of business, and it took the better part of an hour. And during that time, I really was, I felt oddly in touch with my digestive system. I was aware of all the bodily functions, and it took, as I said, I was like, man, I think I've been in here an hour, and it was a really bizarre and very involved bowel movement.
It was a sad
I was
experience.
high as a kite on LSD, and when I finished, I walked out, and it had been like 90 seconds.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
True story. I was literally in there. Like, I could feel every cell of I knew how my digestion worked. I felt all my organs doing their part.
Yeah.
I was in touch with my own system in a way I'd never experienced. And it was like a really life affirming moment. And then when I finally came out of there, I was like, oh, it's not even been 2 minutes. Oh, okay.
I want to do it again. I'm getting some tacos.
Right. I don't think I've ever taken a dump on.
Yeah, well, I did
acid.
it once. Wouldn't do it again. Trust me.
No?
It was way too. I was like, no, this can't be happening. It is happening. Oh no! And then it's a weird one.
You apologize to everyone for bogarting the bathroom.
No, I had gone into. It was in a hotel. At least I was in France. I
Yeah.
had that going for me. I was in Paris.
Did you
and I walked in.
visualize the process?
They had a bidet.
Did I? No, but well, I didn't use it. If they did, I was.
That would have been really freaky.
By the time I allowed myself to leave, I was in a rush. I was like, I gotta get out of here. And that carried over to the next day. So, the next day was the only time I ever played a gig. I was in the acid hangover period where I was like still kind of tripping just a little. And then the first song of the night, I was like, God, this song is so long. And I'm playing it, and it was just completely 3.5 minutes. But like somewhere during the second verse, I was like, are we still playing this song? And I'm like, everyone's gonna know I don't know what's happening. But the first song, it like wore off. All of a sudden, I was back, and I was like, "Whoo, Lord!" And I was like, "No one's looking at me funny."
Right.
I really thought it was a song called "One Mirror Too Many," and I remember thinking, "This is taking so long."
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know we ever extended this one like this. It was just straight up.
Time
just playing
slows
along.
down for you on acid.
Real slow,
Yeah.
slow. Wouldn't recommend it for a gig anyway.
No.
Or a dump.
Maybe maybe binge watching a series or something
I was
like
gonna
that.
say, you got-
safely on the couch.
Got a rope hammock and a case of beer. Give me some acid.
Right.
Otherwise, no.
What
I
if you
gotta tell
morphed the two experiences while you were playing drums? You slowly pulled your pants down and started the process.
I'm like, you know what? Honestly, that's like a 20, almost a 30-year retroactive anxiety attack you're giving me. Wow, that's from the spring of what year was that? 97.
Now, you
right
talked
here,
about
I'm
some
like,
bad
oh my
mail
God, oh
and
my God.
having a tough show after some bad mayonnaise.
That was a whole different story. I'll take the acid any day over bad mayo.
At least
Portugal.
I don't know, would it be worse to be sitting down because then your body's like, oh, okay, we got some business to do here, so it would be a constant clench for the whole show, or up moving around, out in front of the stage. Hard. We can only hypothesize.
Well, I can tell you this: when I got food poisoning in Argentina, I had to get on stage, and that was not one but two Imodium was required, and that was actually more painful, but less less nasty because
Yeah,
I was able to dam that river, but boy, I paid a price with cramps. So now, hey, speaking of nothing to do with acid or cramps, but just good, pure, clean fun. At least I won't be on acid. The KQ karaoke cruise is back. Although, man, that might... No, I'm not going to even go that way. June 21st on Paddleful Riverboats.
On this boat for 6
featuring
hours.
2 karaoke stages, drinks with the KQ crew, and free food from Lucky's 13 Pub. Tickets are on sale at 92kqrs.com. Sponsored by Alexander Exteriors and Dennis Kirk. The KQ karaoke cruise, I've only been once, but I have no problem telling you it is a blast. We're going to have fun. We think you should join us. How about that? It's June 6th, which means we're just about at the end of commencement/graduation season. Any great graduation stories? Any great yearbook quotes you want to share? Feel free. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ talk and text line. We've got some real doozies to share. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, June the 6th. Toto, hold the line. Hey, Jeff Procaro, get that right foot kick drum going, brother. Man, Procaro was badass. It is June the 6th. High school commitments have pretty much wrapped up. There's a few stragglers out there. It is that time of year. On the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK, we have been soliciting both commencement stories and high school yearbook quotes from back in the day. I shared one earlier, and now I have to share the follow-up. The first one was, at my graduation, my dad took pics of my friend thinking it was me. I have no photos of that event except one that a different friend took. And then the follow-up, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, there were less than 100 people in my class, and my dad was in the aisle taking the pictures very close up. Seriously, you can't make this up.
I love it.
That's fantastic.
I have a buddy who's said that his dad, back in the VHS camera days, recorded his sister's graduation over his graduation.
Nice.
Showed up, did the whole graduation. So he said, well, yeah, my sister's graduation. But, I mean, who honestly is going to watch that VHS video ever of someone's graduation? You might bore your kids with it someday.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mike from New Ulm says, my dad took pictures of my graduation. No film in the camera.
Oh, there's a few of those on there. Yeah, for
Dad's
sure.
Right. Dad's finest moments. Here's one caller who texted, someone texted, my senior yearbook quote was, when the Red River is flowing, be sure to take the dirt road home. And they printed it.
Well.
Oh, my God.
Sage advice. When the Red River is flowing, be sure to take the dirt road home. Yeah, that's legendary.
Yeah, there was a conversation about that in the teacher's lounge the next year. Did you see last year's yearbook? Someone flipping through it, and he goes, wait, hold on. Who was the editor of the yearbook? They're off at the U. Here's a great text. As it was the 70s, and there was nothing more important than drinking, drugs, and rock and roll. You forgot the sex part. I was very lucky to graduate. On my way out of the gymnasium, my math teacher grabbed my diploma and said, we are not done yet. And I had to stay after 3 weeks to finish his class.
I would have beat up my math teacher.
Was his name Mr. Hand by any chance?
No kidding. What a jerk.
Man.
There's a guy that was going through his second divorce.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
my
right.
God.
Summer's here, Mr. Hand. Not for me and not for him. How about this one? My high school graduation was cut short due to a tornado warning. Oh. Yeah, there's a lot of people that can relate to that one.
Yeah, no kidding. That time of the year, right?
Check this out. Maddie writes, I fell asleep while they were calling names and totally missed mine being called at his graduation. What's even funnier is that neither of the two troglodytes sitting next to me even thought about waking me up. No. We were not all in this together.
No, they were just sitting there having a good time laughing while you were snoring away.
I woke up somewhere around the L's and realized everyone around me had their little fake diplomas in the living room. What do? I got up and walked to the end of the line, and I made them re-announce my name.
Oh, wow.
Because I deserved my moment.
Well, his name was Bueller.
Yeah,
Bueller.
Yeah,
Bueller.
Right. Wow. Wow, this is great.
Here's one commencement speaker. They said, quoting their commencement speaker, every year many, many stupid people graduate from college, and if they can do it, so can you.
Oh, yeah, I like it. How about this? Senior class ahead of me had a wild party 2 nights before graduation, and the girl who was number 2 in her class gave the speech at the ceremony she attended. She had already gotten her speech approved by the principal, but at the last minute changed the ceremony speech to talk all about the party. The first line was something like many of you, I woke up in a barn Thursday morning with no idea where I was. She says she lost her scholarship and disappointed a lot of teachers and parents. She posted the entire speech on Facebook. Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
My high school, I think I mentioned this. We had senior quotes we were going to go with, and then they just didn't happen for whatever reason. It was like for the first year of my school, it was like, we're going to give you senior quotes. And then the yearbook came out and they weren't in there. And of course, and the yearbook editor was a classmate. I'm like, dude. He's like, they kind of told us, nah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And as my quote had been an English beat quote, which didn't resemble anything really. It was, in a yard, for go on like you hard, which I don't even know what that means. But I was convinced it was because of my quote, But at the same time, they did issue, my school issued senior quotes the following year, and then from then on. And 2 years after I graduated, and again, really small school, so everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
There was a kid whose senior quote was, "It's better to rule in hell than serve in heaven." And I looked at his picture. He just looks like Joe frat guy. I'm like, what? I couldn't believe they printed that, and you wouldn't put my garbage Jamaican hybrid English lyric from a stupid song.
It reminds me of the Satanist opening up the town council meeting, with a little prayer.
Yeah, exactly.
We will now move into the invocation. Today we have Mr. Jason Miller.
Thank you for letting us here. My name is Jason. I am an organizer and founder of Reno Satanic, and I am here to give the invocation today. In nomine de nostris Satanis Luciferi Excelsi, in the spirit of the unconquerable sun, the bringer of light and knowledge, we say, Shemham Farash, hail Satan.
Jeez.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason.
That reminds me of the 1980 presidential election. This was Ronald Reagan v. Jimmy Carter. I know at least the three of us remember that, as do many of our listeners. And my high school would always have their mock election, and they would say they would designate somebody to be like the you be Reagan, you be Carter. We'll have debates, and then I, as a sophomore, ran as Gus Hall, who was every 4 years he was the candidate for the American Communist Party. Now, I knew nothing about his platform. I knew nothing about the American Communist Party, but it was like, I just thought it would be funny to put flyers up around school, vote Gus Hall for communists. And it was. But the history teacher who always organized this, he goes, no, this is America. Every voice is, everybody gets to say their piece. So then I was like, damn it, I had to go to the library and study up on who Gus Hall was. And so then I'm up there, I'm giving a speech on representing the American Communist Party. I'm going with I committed. I won the damn election.
Attaboy.
Yes.
And they printed it in the school, in the town newspaper, the school's mock election. People were not happy. Like, wait a minute, that whack out old weird school, they want the communists? It was like, no, I just had I was funnier than the Reagan and the Carter guy.
That, and it's a protest vote. It's like, we don't want to do this stupid thing every year. And
that's exactly right.
And how can we piss off our parents in the town quickly? I know, we'll make the communist vote, because in 1980 it was the Cold War, and we were raised to hate the commies, the Ruskies, the Reds.
I literally peppered my speech with like Marx and Lenin quotes and stuff, and religion is the opiate of the masses. I was up there saying all that stuff, but it was like,
and it kind of sounds good on paper.
Looking back now, I mean, it was a very different time. If a student got up and said all that right now, people would lose their minds. At the time, it was just like, do you really mean that? No. Okay. Hey, there are people that do think this way. They're out there. Here's a couple great senior quotes. This wasn't like High School Musical at all. I like that one. And then might be my favorite. The more you weigh, the harder you are to kidnap.
That's true. That reminds me of the old Theodore Roosevelt quote. A man who has never gone to school may steal from a freight car, but if he has a university education, he may steal the whole railroad.
Ooh.
Well,
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm digging that.
Teddy.
Here's this one on the KQ Talk and Text line. Our class voted High in High School by Madam X as our class song. When the yearbook came out, it had been changed to Don't Stop Believin'.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're never going to let that one slide by.
No, just, every time you see Don't Stop Believin', it means that was just the default, that they had something highly inappropriate.
Oh, this is funny. So my son was valedictorian of his graduating class. Because it was COVID, we had to record his speech at home. His friend recorded the speech in front of the patio door. In the background was the neighbor going back and forth mowing his yard.
That's fantastic.
That's a great visual.
Oh, that is fantastic. How about Muhammad Ali at a commencement speech one time? If they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, they can sure make something out of you.
Pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, right.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Ali spoke at some college campus once, and he was talking about poetry and turns of phrase, and someone said, "Give me a poem in 3 words." And he said, "All right, you, me, we." And of course, everyone's like, yeah! That's all it takes. Yeah. You deliver that kind of nonsense with the right. If you're Muhammad Ali, that's not nonsense. People really buy in. Right. If I said that, you guys would throw something at me.
He had the gift of gab and the gift of jab.
Hey, wow, very good. Did you make that up?
I just did, I think.
Pretty good,
I'm
man.
sure if you Google it, somebody wise like Arnold Schwarzenegger said it.
Jeremy text, our senior quotes were taken away from us because after 2 rounds of submissions, most were so inappropriate their principal refused to read anymore. Now that checks out. Here's one. At my high school graduation, they made a slideshow of all the students. They included a random photo in which I was with the Hazy Faces, also known as the Stoners. My parents sat there and watched as a picture of me with an obviously super stoned dude was displayed. Thanks a lot.
Well,
come on.
Yeah, that's like I said, you're only going to remember it if something goes wrong.
This is a wild one. We had a graduation mass beforehand, and the power went out in this giant-ass auditorium. The scariest part was that it was happening during one of the hymns. So there I am listening to a Gregorian chant sung by 24 18-year-old boys in a pitch-black room. One by one, the tech savvy began using the flashlights on their phones to light up the night.
No.
For a good 30 seconds, it was terrifying. I couldn't see, but it sounded like I was about to be sacrificed. That's I can totally imagine that. Well shared, sir.
Not as fantastic. Hannah writes, I fell off the stage. Had to limp back to my seat with my leg bleeding and missing a shoe. There was even an audible ooh from the crowd when I fell.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, that's not what you want. This is as it is the time of year with commencement, and several people have texted in like, it's high school, everybody does it, it shouldn't be that big a deal. Well, no, but for a lot of of people, that's the end of their educational process.
I'm sorry, I was reading another one. That's what I was laughing at.
Oh no, well, share it then.
All right, I hate to interrupt. Sorry, there was one of those. My mic was on. Delivering the graduation address, and at the end of I used someone's old graduation address. They cop someone's old graduation address. And at the end of my speech, I said, congratulations to our class of 2013. It was 2016.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
I'm going to proofread that.
I was a freshman. I love that class. They were the best. I just wanted to give them a second round of congratulations.
Us too.
Man, that's great.
All right, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying there's certain things you just assume if by the time someone graduates high school, they should have their handle on certain facts of life. Like there's just certain things.
Be nice.
And I came across a list of 15 facts that a lot of people are still surprised, finding out and are shocked by. For example, we do all know this, right? Fruit Loops are all just one flavor.
Yes.
They're not the different colored Fruit Loops. It's just making sure we're all on board with that one.
We did the taste test. Yeah, close your eyes. And we did that one time, my brother and I. Close your eyes and tell me which one.
Yeah.
And then green tasted just like yellow.
Captain Crunch, King Vitamin. Discuss. The same. It tastes just alike.
Quisp and Quake.
Quisp and Quake. Too. Exactly the same thing. We preferred Quisp because the milk would settle in the little Quisp. You'd have your little bowl of milk, miniature version. We all understand this, that a pony is not a baby horse. I'll admit, I was a little older than I probably should have. When I thought a pony was just a young horse.
Just a small one.
A baby horse is a foal, of course. A pony is a horse that as an adult is below a certain height.
Yeah,
when I found that out, I was like, oh, pony boy. That makes that really funny to me. I kind of missed out on
little biters, those little Shetland ponies.
Yeah. Here's another thing. Seems to blow people's minds. There are multiple ski resorts in Australia.
Oh.
That's shocking to me.
You know, I was down in Arizona last year for Christmas, and I knew that they had the Snow Bowl down there. But, yeah, they have like 5 or 6 ski resorts in Arizona. I guess if you get enough elevation, it's going to snow up there. I
have skied in the state of Indiana, and that always makes me laugh to think back on that. Like a place called Paoli Peaks.
Yeah.
And it's not really it's like peak as in like you just peeked a glance at a hill and thought I could ski on that.
Hit that double black diamond?
Yeah, not exactly. Their double black diamond is what would be the bunny run at any self-respecting ski resort.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nice. I mean, there was one trail that went through the trees a little bit, like in the woods, but you would be in the middle of a run at Paoli Peaks and you would just stop. It's like there's no gravity helping me at all. Like there's just nothing here. This is not even a hill. We're now on a slope.
It doesn't even sound like a good sledding hill.
No, it was terrible. It was just awful. But I was drunk and in college, so
why not?
Here's one I never knew. I never knew this until very recently. Zebras are actually black with white stripes. I had no idea.
What?
Yes,
that's true. They are black and they have white stripes.
All right, I guess I never thought of it.
I don't need to know that. It's not going to change a thing about my life, but gosh, go figure.
You're going to stare at a zebra differently now, though.
Yeah. And then I'll just share one more with you. Sign language is not universal. Sign languages are their own unique languages. It's not a signed version of spoken language. There are 300 different sign languages. So, if you talk, like English and French are different languages, and people from around the world have all different sorts of. That's why you see ASL is American Sign Language. It's not the same as English Sign Language.
I didn't know.
I didn't either. Yeah. Very.
Right.
Yeah.
The middle finger, meeting the middle finger everywhere you go in the world, though? I don't know. Probably not.
I don't think so. I know that I know in like there's certain places the V for victory backwards, like that's the middle finger there. Mm-hmm. I do know in Brazil they say don't give the OK sign, the thumb fork. Don't do the OK.
I do that all the time.
That's a reference to the tier 6. Yeah, that's a Dirt Star reference of some sort.
Well, maybe there would be some context where you might do that.
I guess there would be.
In Brazil.
Sure.
So where can I, and then just give them the okay sign. I need to, and then, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why am I doing that?
Here's a follow-up to my Gus Hall for president on the text line. In senior year, 1980 composition class, we were required to write a page on a presidential candidate. We were told they had to be on the ballot, i.e. Reagan or Carter. I wrote mine about Joe Walsh, who was on the ballot in Ohio.
What?
His campaign slogan was free gas for everyone. I got an F with the comment, nicely written, but this was not assigned content. Come on.
Oh, I mean, that's when you keep. That's a proud F right there.
Yeah, that's a great F right there.
I like it.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Thursday, June the 6th. We are about to play a game for tickets to see Celeste Barber, but we need a second caller. We had 2. Somebody dropped off. 651-989-ROCK. Call us right now and get in on the game. Tickets to see Celeste Barber as we await. And as I just mentioned, this June 6th, you may be going, what's that? Oh, that's right. It's 80 years since D-Day. Listen to this amazing story about a 100-year-old man from Bloomington. His name is Les Schrenk. And as we speak, he is in Normandy for the first time ever. Wow. Where was he 80 years ago today? He was in a German prisoner of war camp as a 20-year-old kid from Minnesota. A couple weeks before D-Day, his plane was shot down and he was captured. The last time he was in Europe, which has now been a few decades apparently, he met a German by the name of Hans Hermann Mueller. That was the German pilot who shot down Les Schrenk's plane.
That's crazy.
And at the time, Mueller had a chance to fire a second fatal shot, likely would have killed Schrenk and his crew, and he never did. He decided to let them live.
Yeah.
Decades later, as I mentioned, the men met, and they have since become friends.
Wow, this happens from time to time, and it's mind-boggling. First, the life they led, this experience that they had is just not something any one of us can wrap our mind around unless you've been in a war, and a war of this magnitude and this importance to the globe. But then, yeah, this happens from time to time. You hear about Japanese pilots and American pilots that were engaged against each other, becoming friends after the war, and I suppose that's someone you have that in common with, that experience.
Oh, sure.
More so than maybe some people from back home.
Well, it's here's a kind of might sound trite, but if you're a professional rugby player and you meet a professional basketball player, you guys know a lot about each other that you don't have to know about each other.
Yeah.
There's just you've committed your life to this pursuit. You have a whole experience. Far more likely is, soldiers. I mean, at the end of the day, the German soldiers that our American soldiers were fighting against, they had very, very similar lives. They were not making a single damn decision.
Yeah,
they were not following their own orders. They were all living the same lives with different uniforms on to a certain extent. And so, it's
unless
not
you were with the SS.
That's true. Yeah.
But
I'm talking about soldiers.
Yeah,
pilots, guys on the ships.
Yeah, the Luftwaffe, and exactly. They understood that they were both sent by these large governments and what was happening in the world, and that's crazy. And
so hey, Les,
great
glad that Les, as a 100-year-old man, could make it over to Normandy. Cheers to you, sir, and thank you very sincerely for your service. All right, we've got tickets to see Celeste Barber, a very, very funny woman, June 20th at the State Theater, and we've got 2 callers ready to play a game to win those tickets. Grad bag, Celeste Barber tickets are on the table. Who is caller/contestant number 1?
Numero uno is Ken from Minneapolis.
Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
Ken, are you a high school graduate?
This is David.
Oh, David.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
Apologies, David.
Either one is fine.
Well, David, David, are you a high school graduate?
Yes, sir.
What school, if you don't mind my asking?
Elk Grove High School, Elk Grove, California, just south of Sacramento.
The Fightin' Friars. No? Maybe? Just taking a guess.
Not quite.
There.
The Thundering Herd.
Ooh, Thundering Herd. All right. Yeah, strong. All right, well, we're going to play a little game called Grad Bag. Good luck, sir.
Fantastic.
All right, we're going to go back to school here. Number 1, our first question involves science. What explosion produced the loudest sound ever recorded in history? Was it A, Jim Belushi shifting his weight as he left his booth at Taco John's?
Wow.
B, a whale serenading a potential mate? Or C, the eruption of the Krakatoa volcano?
Was that for David? Or
That's for you, Mr. Man.
It's all you, Dave.
Gotcha. Yeah, that Belushi, that was explosive, but I'm going to go with C.
Very good, yes.
Everybody knows where they were when Belushi left that Taco John's.
Yeah, that was newsworthy.
Number 2, social studies. In China, when someone dies, instead of black, they wear this color. Is it A, white, B, yellow like the sun, or C, tie-dye?
Depending on the soundtrack, they might go tie-dye, but typically they want to go with white.
Yes, sir.
Strong. 2 for 2, Dave. Keep it up.
Roger that.
Number 3 is the arts. What kind of dancing would you see on stage if you saw a performance of river dance? Is it A, ballet, B, Irish step dancing, or C, Wisconsin supper club polka?
Oh, great.
Great.
First thought was going to be break dancing. I'm going to go with probably the Irish tip on that one.
You probably are right.
There you go.
Yeah.
What was that creepy dude's name who started Riverdance?
Michael
Flatley.
Lamb.
Yes, Lord of the Dance.
He always rubbed me the
Not
wrong
Michael
way.
Landon.
Just move your damn arms. You're freaking everybody out.
No kidding.
2 more for you, smarty pants. Next up is reading and language. In what story does a bunny say goodnight to all the objects in his room? Is it A, the people under the stairs, B, Goodnight Moon, or C, Good Dog Carl?
God, I had Cujo on my mind on that. I'm going to go with Goodnight Moon.
Wow, man. Got ourselves a ringer on the horn right here. 4 for 4, David.
He's just playing with you, Tony.
Yeah.
One more for you. How many angles are in a heptagon? This is math. Is it A, 40, B, 7, or C, infinity?
Did you say what kind of gun?
How many angles are in a heptagon?
Hectagon.
Hept. With a P, heptagon.
Gotcha. Can you run those three options?
A, 40, B, 7, or C, infinity?
Infinity.
You got one wrong.
It's a lot of angles.
Silly man.
Story of my life.
Correct answer is 7, of course.
4 for 5 is still very strong, David. Well played.
Yeah.
Real quick, I got to go back to that Jim Belushi line. Odd story. My son just met Jim Belushi's daughter. They become buddies.
Weird.
They had
really?
a mutual friend, and he was like, "You ever heard of Jim Belushi?" Yeah, I met his daughter. Apparently, just a great kid. I was like, "Really? Wow,
that's good."
Hey, her uncle was really funny. That's exactly what I said.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim. All right, David, 4 for 5. Well played, brother. Let's get on to contestant number 2. Who have we got?
Should be Ken from
This should be
Minneapolis.
Ken. Ken, good morning.
Good morning.
There you are, brother. Are you a high school graduate?
Am I a high school graduate? Yes.
What school, sir, if you don't mind my asking?
I am a Cotton, Minnesota Cardinal.
A Cotton Cardinal.
Old
All
Cardinals.
right.
Picking Cotton Cardinals.
Go Cards.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to play a game called Grad Bag, sir. I wish you the best of luck.
All right.
All right, Kenny, number 1. This is science. Not counting the skin, the epidermis, which is the largest organ in the human body? Is it A, the liver, B, the thorax, or C, the gallbladder?
Gallbladder.
Oopsie daisy, shoot, it's the liver.
Yeah. Mine's
Dang,
extra large.
Yeah, I know. She's bloated.
Back on the horse, Ken. You can do this.
Number 2 under social studies. What is the more well-known familiar name of the Marine Corps Memorial? Is it A, the Iwo Jima statue, B, the Urban Assault Vehicle Monument, or C, the Gomer Pyle USMC waiting pool?
Well, golly, how about the first one?
There you go.
Number 3 is the arts. Name the composer who created the Nutcracker. Was it A, Mr. Peanut, B, Tchaikovsky, or C, Lombardi?
Tchaikovsky.
Well done.
Yes, sir.
2 more for you, sir. Under reading and language, Norman Bridwell writes of a big red dog in his books. What is that dog's name? Is it A, Schnapsy, B, Heidi, or C, Clifford?
I had all of them. Clifford.
Yes, sir.
Attaboy.
Schnapsy.
I had a buddy named Schnapsy.
My Schnapsy was my dachshund.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes. I miss Schnapsy.
Here's a shot right now.
Number 5 under math, and your last one, a trapezoid is also a what? A, an improper fraction, B, a quadrilateral, or C, a marsupial?
Quadrilateral.
Nice job! Which is a 4-sided polygon with 4 angles, of course.
Obviously.
Well done, Ken.
Nice.
Started off, he stumbled, and then ran the table to tie David at 4 for 5. Really solid effort from both you gentlemen. So that means we have a tiebreaker.
All right.
Tony will ask a question. You will both answer. David, please answer first, and then we'll get Ken's answer.
All right, geniuses. How many steps are there to climb in the Eiffel Tower? How many steps?
David?
The Eiffel Tower. Okay.
What's your guess?
There are a total, give or take 1 or 2,
Yes?
18,300.
18,300, says David. Give or take a couple. Ken, what do you think?
Let's see.
So come on, you can
Spit out
Google
a
faster
number.
than that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is he's
I'm going
looking
to
it
say
up.
19,000.
Oh,
19,000. The answer?
The correct answer is 1,792.
Wow, nowhere near as many as our contestants thought. But that means David is closer with 18,300. David, you have won tickets to see Celeste Barber. She's very funny. June 20th at the State Theater. Ken, you have our eternal respect. Go Cards. Thank you both for playing.
All right, thanks, guys. And hey, keep rocking in the free world.
Yeah,
damn straight.
Right, thank you.
Right on.
Couple of bright fellas.
Yeah.
You. One of the categories was, of course, social studies.
Mm-hmm.
I have this memory of a social studies class, and we were learning about. I don't even know where. Somewhere in the world there was a tribe, and they measured wealth in yams. They grew sweet potatoes, and in there, like in outside. I just pictured a hut like you saw on Gilligan's Island, but outside their crudely fashioned homes, they would stack their yams in a pile, and depending on how many you had, you were the wealthy guy in town. And we were learning about this, and I spent an entire social studies class, and in my head, I thought we were talking about yaks. Giant land mammals. And I was like, how do you stack a bunch of yaks? And I was like, no one else seemed to think it was weird. And the whole time I'm like, man, this is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I finally, this is 60 minutes, and I'm in like 9th grade. And finally I was like, a couple questions, and I put my hand up. And Mr. Dennison, he's like, Beef, which of course every teacher called me by my nickname Beaver. He goes, Beef. I said, yeah, I gotta ask you about these yams. And when I said it out loud, I went, yams. And I went, oh wait, never mind, I got it. He's like, what? I said, no, let it go. And he laughed. It was class ends, and he goes, what was that? I was thinking yaks the whole day. And my teacher just fell out. He was dying. He goes, I wish you hadn't figured it out.
Yeah,
he was dying for me to go, how do you stack yaks? Aren't they like 1,000 pounds each? I was ready to go.
That's hilarious.
You guys like yams? You ever eat a yam?
Yeah, but I'm okay with a yam.
I don't eat it. I had a buddy that always used to refer to having to go to the bathroom. Oh, God, a yam in the hole.
Oh, boy.
And so after that, I just couldn't approach a yam.
I live with and am married to a sweet potato fanatic.
Okay.
Yeah, no short. There's a bag of them in my house right now.
Must be an Italian thing. Rachel, too.
Oh, really?
Loves them sweet potatoes.
And she'll cut them up into fry shape and air fry some sweet potato fries like there's no tomorrow.
I would take one bite every year when I was a kid because my grandmother, Dutch, however, said she had to try her sweet potatoes before you could open your present from Grandma. So you got to have some sweet potatoes. I'm like, man.
Here we go. I've never not enjoyed sweet potato, but it's never occurred to me to pursue it on any level.
Right.
If it's there,
sweet potato fries. What was that?
Pasta sweet potatoes.
Pasta sweet potatoes.
I had a class my senior year of high school. They have in the old days you'd have shop or home ec. The girls had home ec and the boys had shop. Well, my school didn't have either, but we had we did have a class. We were the Blazers, my high school mascot. There was a class called Blazer Batching. Batching, which was short for like bachelor.
Yeah.
And it was basically home ec for boys. Which was actually kind of cool. Like they literally had us cooking some meals. Here's how you balance a checkbook. Very basic stuff, but looking back, a lot of that was pretty helpful at the time. And one of the things they taught us about was compounding interest. I paid no attention. I was like, what? It's math? I don't care.
When you said it, I just started to check out. Just a little.
Yeah, see, that's what happens. You're like,
where's my phone?
You're like, wait, hold on. I could balance a checkbook. I can do rudimentary arithmetic. What's this compounding interest nonsense you're talking about?
Stacking yaks.
But they were talking about stack your yaks, and then the yaks actually grow over time. It'll grow an extra tail if you don't touch it for a year. And I'm thinking back to those days because right now I'm reading 1/3 of people recently polled say their most important financial plan is just waiting out their parents and inheriting money. 1 in 3, in fact, say that's pretty much it. 36 people in Gen X, 32% of millennials, and even 20% of baby boomers still say, well, when my parents go, then I'm going to cash in.
That's bad news for you, Taylor and Sydney.
Yeah.
I may actually leave you a little debt.
But here's the thing. Gen Z, that's the younger generation.
Yeah, just coming on.
People who are under 26, 65% of them currently see their parents as their best financial option. I got two of those kids right now. I'm like, you guys are just about finishing college. Like, you got to get a job.
Off the teat now.
Yeah, hey,
Here we go.
I'm part of that Sting mindset, which is still like, yeah, I'm still having fun with this. Like, I'm still trying to, you don't get mine. Go get a job, man. Go work hard.
Well, when we were growing up, if you were still living with your parents post-high school, that was a loser tag. But now it's pretty common. I know a whole lot of Gen Xers like myself. I don't have one of my kids living with me, but I have a whole bunch of friends that have their kids living with them, and it's just not uncommon.
Well, it is very different as far as what things cost and what jobs are available. And, minimum wage has not kept up.
Houses.
I mean, if you go back in time and just look at the ease with which you could transfer from living at home to getting on your own, it's more difficult now than it ever has been. No question about it. That said, I've spent the last 5 years looking at both my kids going, no. This is not game time. This is get it together time.
I played the long play on that. Years ago, I started creating a household in which they would not want to stay in.
That's
for
how
their own good.
That's how Don and Imelda did it.
Yeah, we make it too comfortable for them.
I want to trap mine. I want them to stay forever.
That's because they're how old?
15 and 11.
Yeah, just give it a few years.
Yeah.
My parents, Don and Imelda Gorman, 8 kids, all of whom on their 18th birthday were like, just where's the door? Just get me the hell out of here.
Oh, yeah, that was it. My dad and I were, like I said, I moved out a little early upon Dad's request.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
and then I came back for my senior year. So the summer between my senior and junior year, Dad's like, yeah, why don't you get out of here? In a different way, kind of give it to me in a fatherly way, with Mom over there shaking her head, crying. Mm-hmm. And but anyway, my senior year came back, and I remember my graduation. We get back to the farm after my graduation. Dad takes me out and cracks me a Coors. Have one, son. All right, here's a dad-father moment. What you doing this summer? I thought I'd just hang out, and shoot some stop signs, drink some beer, do some fishing, the usual. Yeah. He said, all right, sounds good. Want you out of here in a week. What was that? He goes, week.
Here's your bag.
I'm like, I like 1 week. Dad, I don't have anywhere to go. He goes, well, I don't know. For me, it was the Air Force. Perhaps for you, it's a different recruiter you want to go visit. I'm like, wow, gotcha. Yeah. So I was 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to St. Louis to bus it off to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Hell yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Man.
Out with you.
I suggested to my dad when I was in 10th grade, threw it out there. I said, maybe I'll join the Marines. And I've never seen a man more from the heart laugh like that. I mean, I couldn't have ever said anything funnier.
Laugh.
I could have never said anything funnier. I mean, and to the point where my mom was like, Don. He couldn't have imagined anything funnier. And I was like, okay, I guess. Okay, so that's a no. You don't think I'm Semper Fi material? Come on, man. I was kind of feeling it for a hot second there.
Kicked ass.
Yeah, he was onto something there. Oh wait, that kid who keeps asking me for a drum kit? No, you were not. You were not Marine material.
Right.
What are you gonna do? I tell you what, I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna find. I've gotten to the age, and thankfully it's behind me. Hopefully, but my plan is to never. I'm not gonna be arrested. I'm certainly never going to jail.
Yeah.
I will do anything to avoid that. I am not Marine material. I am definitely not orange jumpsuit material.
Yeah.
But that's not everybody, because I do have a story about a man who just broke into prison. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show for Thursday, June the 6th. Hey, heads up. This is actually cool as hell. Why don't you come out and hang out with us this Saturday in Anoka? We're going to test drive Anoka's new Sip and Strut plan.
I dare you.
We're going to walk around, drinks in hand, and have a nice time. We're going to get started at Serum's Saturday just after 2 o'clock, and we're going to make pit stops at the 201 Tavern, Billy's Bar, and the Wheelhouse. A nice afternoon spent in the lovely town of Anoka, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I say lovely based on what you guys have told me. I've never been, so this is my maiden voyage.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this trip.
Yeah, I was just
Steve Gorman.
This could be fun.
They're doing the whole,
Nice.
His dog, Chauncey.
Yeah, man.
What do we got
doing it.
here? We've got partly cloudy and 73. No chance for rain on Saturday. It's going to be a beaut, a good day for strolling and walking and drinking. And
We're told there's a big car show happening that same day, too.
oh, hell yeah, there is. It's car show season. It's Saturday. It's Anoka.
And there's also a wedding. We were someone texted yesterday and gave us not only the fact that there's a wedding, but the names of the two who are going to be married and asked us to come by and crash. Listen, you never know what's going to happen.
All right, I want to dance with the bride. Hell, I want to dance with the groom, too. Let's do a threesome dance. That'll be fun.
Boy, I almost made a joke about those conjoined twins who got married, or one of them did, but I decided not to because I'm a classy guy.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time, and no matter what happens, no matter how much we imbibe, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We're going up there to have fun.
Yeah.
This is not going to be one of those I woke up in the Anoka drunk tank stories. That's just not how that's going to go at all.
No, those days are behind.
No, you won't wake up.
No, that does remind me. A dear friend of mine, Ray Compton, who slipped away from this mortal coil 4 or 5 years ago. He was a tour accountant for a promoter back in the 90s. Spent a lot of time on the road with the Black Crowes. Great guy. And by the time we met him, he was stone cold sober and proudly and happily and necessarily sober. But he had some of the best stories of the 70s and 80s being a promoter rep in the day. But he said he knew it was time to get his life together when he was living in Tulsa. And he said, I would wake up 3 or 4 days a week, and if I were face down on a wood floor, I knew I was in county. And if it was tile, I knew it was city. And he said, and once I started, because I had a realization of, wait, that's how I judge what happened last night. Where because he couldn't remember anything.
Find that mirror.
Yeah,
it's
time to get up. Time to get it together.
It's living on Tulsa time.
The same great Ray Compton who was in the French Quarter, New Orleans once, and was offended by something someone said to him at a bar, and so he stood up and announced to a full bar, "I'm coming back in a minute, but I'll be driving." So if you don't want to be here, I advise clearing out. And he literally evacuated a bar and then got in his car and drove it right into the bar.
That's a freaking legend.
And
right
he
there.
doesn't remember any. I mean, he was told this is what happened, and then he was arrested in jail. The whole thing. And it was like, I said, man, even that drunk and high, you were such a gentleman about it. He goes, oh, I know, I didn't want to hurt anybody.
Fair warning,
because I was just pissed off at the bartender.
But he did it. Just saying it. See, I think that's something I could have, if I was clever enough, would have said. But I wouldn't have followed through with it. I don't think I've ever been that drunk where I've done something so, criminally, over the top.
But that I say that story to give you an example of no matter what state he was in, just a salt of the earth human being.
Yeah.
He had some issues. You could say by announcing loudly to a bar full of people, "I'm about to bring my car in here, so you might want to leave." What you're ultimately doing is you're driving yourself to jail. That's what it's the same thing. You're taking a step in the middle, but you're pretty much announcing to the world, "I'm bringing myself to jail. Thank you very much." Well, a dude in Florida this week, he took out the middleman. He literally drove himself into the lobby of the Martin County Jail. Wow. We do have a little audio explaining a piece of what happened here.
He threw 2 rubber snakes and multiple cell phones into the lobby and then started pouring motor oil all over his vehicle and then the floor where he was, threatening to light the car and himself on fire. He kept saying things like, "The devil told me to kill everyone," and he kept sharing his disdain for President Donald Trump.
I would never in a million years think somebody tried to break into jail. Break out? Yeah. Break in? It's crazy.
Yeah, so there's the chief, and he jumps in, after he's already come into the lobby, and because this happened in Florida, he's a Florida man, it's always a little zestier, a little more colorful. So wasn't he wearing just a blouse, no pants, starts throwing, pours motor oil on the floor. Yeah. I don't know what that signifies, and then starts throwing rubber snakes, and you heard, went on his rant there, and then just a local guy chiming in. Who would drive into jail?
Charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer and criminal mischief. I'm thinking more straitjacket than handcuffs myself.
They might have had to take him to the hospital and not right to his cell because he probably was only feet away from that holding cell. That's right there near the lobby. But Take me to jail.
The best part to me, if there is a best part, it's the women's blouse he was wearing without pants.
A fashion faux pas. Yeah, right.
Just a couple screws loose, to say the least. Speaking of bizarre stories involving vehicles and police officers, Colorado officials have reached a settlement with a woman. She will receive $8.5 million. Her name is Yereni Rios Gonzalez. Here's what happened. She was arrested a few years ago. She was arrested for road rage. So, she was out being a bit of a miscreant. She gets arrested on the scene. There's a road rage incident. But somehow, between her being arrested and put in the back of a squad car and being delivered to the jail, the car stops on train tracks.
Not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to do that. And the officers get out of the car. They leave her handcuffed in the back seat, and it gets hit by a train.
What in the frickin'?
It's a really
guys.
Oops.
If it were the fellow officers. Actually, I have the officer who was charged with reckless endangerment and assault, and then a representative talking about her injuries as a result of getting hit by a train, handcuffed in the back of a squad car.
I was fairly certain that particular stop was going to end in a gunfight. I never in a million years thought a train was going to come plowing through my scene.
She has a fractured tibia, a broken arm, which she's had surgery on. She had 9 broken ribs. She has a fractured sternum.
All right, so I stand corrected. It was a female officer. Mm-hmm. That's why I said that. I couldn't quite remember with all the audio this morning. Female officer. And then, I don't know, $8.5 million for those injuries. I've done that on a ski mountain. Out skiing for crying out. Literally, a lot of those injuries for $8.5 million.
You need a better lawyer.
I definitely need a better lawyer, yeah. Well, I shouldn't say that. I know he listens. This morning, Mitch, you're a great lawyer. No, mine I don't get paid for mine. I have to pay for my injuries because they didn't, cuff me in the back of a squad car and leave it on the train tracks. All right,
that's the part I'm blown away by.
Just pull ahead 5 feet.
I am a big fan, in all sincerity, and a huge supporter of great cops. Yeah. And like Chris Rock says, but the bad ones, it's kind of like airline pilots. You can't really make a mistake.
No.
It's like, I'm backing you all day long, but you just don't have room for error.
Yeah,
it's like my brain surgeon, my pilot.
Yeah.
There's certain jobs, where it's like, sorry, there's not a lot of wiggle room here.
Yeah, no. If you're working the desk, maybe a typo or something like that every once in a while you can get away with, but they're on the street. So this officer thought something else was going down. Well, you live and you learn, and you shell out the dough. $8.5 million and some injuries. It sounds like she's going to probably mostly recover from. So I think everyone wins in this deal.
Some of our citizens are behind you all the way, officer.
Nick.
Yeah. There's a town. It's a section of Syracuse, New York. It's called Tipperary Hill in Syracuse, New York, and it is exclusive, or I said it's known for one thing. It's the only place that you can find on Earth with its traffic lights, its stoplights, right? Around the world, you've got the same thing: red up top, yellow, and then green at the green means go at the bottom. Yellow in the middle says slow down,
go faster,
go faster, and then red atop is stop. Except in one part of Syracuse, Tipperary Hill, those lights are inverted for a very special reason. And here to explain, we've got a little piece of audio.
It all started with the Stone Throwers. These were the sons and grandsons of Irish immigrants on Tip Hill. When the city first installed a traffic light at Tompkins and Milton, they couldn't stand seeing the British red placed over the Irish green. So about a dozen local boys started hurling rocks to break the red light.
Yeah,
the city would come and fix the light, but by the next day it would be smashed again. The kids broke every new light again and again until the city gave up. They put a green light over the red, creating the only green over red stoplight in the world.
All right, suddenly I like it. The rebel without a clue in me loves that. How does this not happen in St. Paul? How do we not have an inverted traffic light in St. Paul?
I just love the idea that they're like, I can't stand the British red over top.
And you're overthinking it, but yeah, okay.
Growing up in a family where like the book Trinity, I was like 10, and I'm like, read this. You're like, okay, it's kind of an adult book about the struggles and. Very, very Irish. A lot of Irish pride in the Gorman house. My dad opened the door to my room and said, "Turn that down." and I was listening to the first U2 album, Boy, and I said, Dad, this band's Irish. And he goes, oh, great, and just walked away. Like, literally, like, that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead and turn that up just a little.
Not a problem. If they're Irish, that's totally cool. So I love the idea that the traffic light, they're like, I can't stand the British red above the Irish green. We're going to switch it. And so they changed them. So, yeah, there's one neighborhood to this day, the green is on top, the red is on the bottom. But for a little while in between, and this has been going on this is decades and decades. But briefly, there was a problem because other drivers showed up in town. They're like, well, wait, if someone's colorblind, they're not going to see. They just base it. The colorblind driver doesn't see
Position.
red or green. They're looking at position, and if that green light on top is green, they're going to stop, and it's going to be problems.
Ruh-roh.
And so then they switched it, and then of course the Irish were like, "We don't care about your colorblindness." So
we'll throw rocks at colorblind people.
That's exactly right.
Damn
then
your affliction.
They started. So then now it's like, boy, if you're Irish and colorblind, you don't know which way is up. You're really confused about where to go in this one. But no, that's just some of the best. Such a fan of things like that.
Yeah, just like we talked about, that rebel without a cause, rebel without a clue, just young angst. I don't know where it comes from. That was pretty much, a good 10 years of my life. And I just do things. I look back, I'm like, what were you doing, man?
You just had to say no if they said yes. You had to say yes if they said no.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I never had that thing. I think largely because just the youngest kid in a big family.
Yeah.
I watched my other older brothers and sisters, run into the meat grinder.
Yeah.
That was my dad or a cop or whatever. And I grew up very much more like, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to make sure I don't get caught. I'm never going to thumb my nose at authority. I'll just do it more quietly.
Yeah.
A little more
my brother
politicking
was like that.
maybe. Yeah.
I think he saw me, like you said, running face first in the wall, just stupid, and he just figured out how to work the system in his favor.
Yeah, just watch it. My oldest, the second oldest kid of my family is my sister Susan, who is just a charmed, wonderful woman. She got her driver's license, and the first week she had her driver's license, she said, can I take the car out? She had a couple girlfriends over. We want to go to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee. It's Friday night. Nah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, be back by 10. And she showed up at 10:05. And the next day, after her friends were gone, he said, oh, honey, let me see that driver's license. And she handed it to him. He said, okay, thanks. He put it in his pocket.
No.
10:05.
Over 5 minutes.
Want to guess how long?
6 months.
I was going to say for an hour.
1 year.
1 year?
Over.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. Dad.
Then history then came back. He did look back later and acknowledge bit extreme. But let me tell you something. There were 6 more kids behind her who heard that story their whole life and were like, yeah, 10:05 means 10 o'clock means 9:45.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, point made. I guess that's called fathering right there. That's
and then we wonder why she got married at 19. But anyway, listen, it's all good now. Everybody's happy. The other one that I did see, I wasn't there when that happened. I was there when my brother Tom, when the sheriff knocked on the door at 9:30 or 10 p.m. on a Friday night and said, "Is there a Thomas Gorman here?" Mm-hmm. And my dad said, "There sure is." Like if a cop comes to my house and says, "Is Colonel Gorman here?" I'm like, "Who wants to know why?" Right. My first thought is build a wall. Yep, Tom, come on down. My brother comes down. He and some friends earlier that evening had gone to the country club. We lived on a golf course. We were not members of the country club, but our house through some woods backed up to the course. Mm-hmm. So we were on the course all the time, getting in trouble, all sorts of stuff. But Tom and his buddies stole some golf carts one night from the clubhouse, and they drove them around. Yeah, they're all tripping balls, having fun riding golf carts. Police show up, and they decided, let's ditch all the golf carts in the pond and then run away on foot. And they did. The only problem was Tom jumped out, and the wallet in his back pocket was sitting right there in the golf cart. Yeah. So they pull this golf cart that's halfway submerged. They pull it back. There's a wallet.
Son of a...
70 St. Andrews Road, Thomas J. Gorman. They come to the house. Is Tom Gorman here? Yep. He comes down from his room. Again, tripping balls, by the way. He's high. My dad says, here he is, what happened? They explain what happened. Tom's like, oh, no, they know it's him. And they cuff him and take him out. And my dad's words to him were, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Not following you now. You're going to spend the night in jail. My dad had no idea my brother was high on acid. But honestly, if he did, he would have said, I'll see you Sunday, probably.
Give him a little more time.
But yeah, so growing up, anyway, that sort of in your face, old man, that was removed from my psyche very early. I was like, wow, this is not a mountain you can climb.
No, we got plenty of tough love in the Zepp household too.
Man.
Yeah, I remember the first time I talked about it on the show before, but a little traffic mishap, and actually I had a gal with me, and we couldn't wait to park and start making out, so we're making out while we're driving, and I drove through a frickin' red light in Huron, South Dakota. Woo! The lights come on. Yeah. He gets me. We had an open bottle in the car, and he takes me down, and hey, you got to call your dad. Well, my Uncle Frank, bad Uncle Frank, the outlaw in the family, lives in Huron. I'll just call Uncle Frank. He'll come get me.
Yeah.
But Dad was at Uncle Frank's. And as you did back then, when the phone rang, the closest person to the phone answered the phone, which was my dad.
Yes,
hello. And I knew it was Dad. He's not Uncle Frank. Hello. And I'm like, because they let me make the one call. I'm like, oh, hey, Dad, you're at Uncle Frank's. Hey, Brian, what's up? Oh, someone wants to talk to you. But he didn't come get me. He said, no, let him sit. Let him sit. He'll figure it out. And so that was my first night.
Did you even have
put Frank on the phone?
No, yeah. Dad gets to put Uncle Frank on.
Was there a flash second where you went, could I speak to Frank? Is Frank there? Is Francis available?
No, but I'll tell you what scared the hell out of me. My dad didn't come down, but her dad did. And I was still sitting in the lobby when he got there.
Great.
Yeah.
Officer, can you take me back to jail, please?
And he picked her up. He picked her up, and as he's walking out, he just stopped and stared at me for about 5 seconds, locked eye contact, and then walked out with her. And I thought, I'm going to see him again, I bet.
Yeah. In your nightmares, if not in reality.
Yeah, Georgine.
It is June the 6th. Commencement season is upon us. It's just about wrapped up, but we are not going to let you go without some great advice from some very real, in quotes and in caps, commencement speeches. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS. Zepp, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning for Thursday, June the 6th. Hey, in about 30 minutes, Jeff Gerbino is going to join us. He is a part of the second annual Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival going on tonight through Saturday at Crooners and Fridley. A very funny gentleman has been doing it for a long time. He'll be in studio, and we look forward to chatting with him.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had Gerbino on 92.5 that I know of. I did take a little break for a while, but yeah, it'd be great to hear from him, see him, and all that good jazz.
Great.
This time of year, commencement fever, baby. Yeah. It's all going on. We've had a good bit of the day today spent talking about commencement stories, from our own lives, our kids' lives. There's been a bunch of funny ones. And then also like things like senior quotes, things you see in yearbooks where you're just thinking like, you gotta be kidding me. Some of these that get printed or published are absolutely astonishing. I think the most mind-blowing one to me, somebody texted in the quote. What was it? It says when the Red River is flowing, take the dirt road home, and that made it to the yearbook. I'm still. We read that. You read that on the air about 3 hours ago, Zepp, and I'm still upset. I still just wow.
That's legendary stuff right there. I mean, you don't buy a beer in your hometown for the rest of your life if you get that one in the senior yearbook. Here's one from Tammy. Grad advice from her mom. Stay away from credit cards. Just drink at home. Those $300 shoes aren't worth it. Start putting money into a retirement fund now. And if he asks for a threesome with your best friend, run.
That's the full quote.
You know, that right there, that's a list of hard-earned truths. That's not something, Mom didn't get that from the Reader's Digest.
No,
not any of that. She got that from, things were more wild than you thought in the 70s, let me tell you. Holy smokes.
Good stuff. I love it.
You're going to get, at that time of year, you do get an awful lot of advice, especially in some of those commencement speeches. So we've got some clips to share with you. We've got both real and AI commencement clips, and I think we're going to try to have some fun with this. Ryder, explain what we're doing here, please.
Well, Zep's been bragging about, hey, I can spot Chat GPT from like a mile away.
Oh, I knew you were going to burn me with that.
Anytime that we've got it to stick it to Zep, it's always a fun day for us. Plus,
hostile work environment.
So here's the deal. Everybody's going to play, though. And feel free to play along on the text line 651-989-ROCK. I'm going to read a statement that is from a commencement speech. Buzz in with your voice when you know the answer. You don't have to wait for me to finish. If you think you know it, you tell me if it's real or robot. Okay, first one. In a
Zap. No, I'm sorry. I'm just, all right. No, I'm not. Please continue.
I mean, you go for it. If you want to 50-50 it, you might get the point.
Don't make me.
Okay.
Got it now.
In a world that often rewards conformity, dare to be different. Your uniqueness is your greatest strength.
Steve, I know it. Antonio Banderas. It's real. No.
Tony, play the clip. Let's see.
In a world that often rewards conformity, dare to be different.
That's the robot.
Your uniqueness is your greatest strength. Steve Jobs.
That was a ChatGPT one.
Oh, was it the ChatGPT? Oh,
no
was it?
Points. No
all
points.
Right.
Number 2. Buzz in with your voice when you know it.
All right.
Embrace the unknown with courage, for it is in uncertainty that you find opportunities to grow.
Yeah, that's ChatGPT all day long.
Tony?
Embrace the unknown with courage, for it is in the uncertainty that you find opportunities to grow and evolve.
Yeah,
Ellen DeGeneres.
It's got a cadence to it, I think. Or either that or I'm just blindly guessing.
All right, number 3. In short, our breakdown is a breakdown of civility. It's a breakdown of manners and speech and action. It's a breakdown of...
Steve, Marlon Brando. It's real. No?
That's a breakdown of the highest order.
Yeah, I just want to hear Marlon Brando at a commencement speech, I guess.
Tony, play it.
In short, our breakdown is a breakdown of civility.
It is real. It's actually Pat Sajak, though, but Steve still gets a point.
Sajak!
Yeah. Wow. Wrapping it up this week, by the way.
The sage of Severna Park, Maryland. He lives in the town I grew up in
No
Maryland.
kidding.
Yes, Severna Park.
I think his last show is tomorrow.
That is correct.
We're going to have some audio tomorrow, some highlights.
Last spin is tomorrow. I was planning on it. Number 4, success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. Find joy in the journey ahead.
Zap, that's ChatGPT.
Tony?
Success is not the key to happiness.
2 for Zap.
Happiness.
Damn, well done.
ChatGPT
I think like a computer.
ChatGPT attributed that one to Albert Einstein. Number 5. I totally admire the ambitions of your generation to create a more just and inclusive society. Jerry Seinfeld. Real or robot?
Wait. No, I know. No.
Is it real?
But he just did that Duke. Yeah, I'll say real because he just did the thing at Duke.
I totally admire the ambitions of your generation to create a more just and inclusive society.
They didn't do it in this cadence. Society.
Who
All
are
right.
all these people of society?
I'm not giving Gorman a point for that.
That's the big deal about
You
society.
did technically say real first. I'm going to give that one to Zep's at 3. Gorman's at 1.
Damn.
You're buying, buddy.
Number 6. When I think about your generation and I see all the wonderful things that you are doing and how passionate and how vocal you are and engaged you are about your futures, our futures.
Yeah, Steve, that's real. It's Raul Julia, one of my favorite actors.
Where are you getting these names, man?
I don't know.
What happened to Raul?
Tony?
When I think about your generation.
It is real.
And I see
it's actually
all
Stifler's
the wonderful
mom.
things you're doing.
No joke, it's Jennifer Coolidge. So Steve's got 2, Zep's got 3. Number 7. The greatest glory in our lives lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Embrace
Zap, ChatGPT.
Rocky Balboa.
The greatest glory in living lies not in
4
never
for
failing.
Zap.
Yeah, you know, I'm dull-minded. That's why I'm right there with ChatGPT.
Do you, for a bonus point, do you know who ChatGPT attributed that one to?
No. Winston Churchill.
Oh, close. Nelson Mandela.
Oh, yeah.
Number 8.
Both of those gentlemen are rolling over in their graves right now at the fact that you said close. But please continue.
Number 8. The world needs your passion, your creativity, and your energy. Go forth and make your mark. For you are...
Real. Laurence Olivier.
The world needs your passion, your creativity, your energy.
Is it safe? Is it safe?
See?
Creepy Nazi.
All roads lead back to Olivier.
No points there. ChatGPT attributed that to Elon Musk.
Oh, please.
Number 9, don't forget who you are. Your authentic self. It's your power once you know your authentic self. You are unstoppable.
Is that real?
That is real.
All right.
Don't forget who you are.
CBS's Nora O'Donnell.
I was going to say, I thought it was Bill W., the founder of AA.
5 for Zep, 2 for Steve, last one. Life is not about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. Today, you hold the brush to paint the masterpiece of your life. J.K. Rowling. Real or ChatGPT?
That sounds like something. Who is she again? Harry Potter?
The masterpiece of your... I'm going to say it's real.
All right.
Life is not about finding yourself.
No points.
All right, all right. Snuck that one past me. All right.
Okay, so Zep actually does know ChatGPT from a mile away. Very
That means Steve Gorman next week will be doing traffic and weather.
That's fair.
I can tell you what's going to happen right now. There's a lot of traffic backed up, and cloudy might clear up. Just say that every day.
Traffic schmaffic. All right, well, there you go. I mean, ChatGPT gets the job done.
It does get the job done.
I was surprised by how many tech giants, they did the Bill Gates one, it did an Elon Musk one, the Tim Cook, all of that stuff.
Oh,
Steve
yeah.
Jobs. You know who ChatGPT worships. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the elite. A-holes.
I wouldn't exist without Steve Jobs.
Yes.
So my least favorite part about graduating was not the ceremony. It was actually pretty quick. It was super hot. I wore a bikini under my robe and that sort of thing. When we had to take our robes off at the end of graduation and turn them back in, one dude was in the buff. And so it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Really?
Nude?
Yes.
Where'd you go to school?
Lakeville High School, class of 01.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
I don't
kids.
think he knew he was going to have to turn his robe in at the end. But I absolutely hated doing grad parties. It just killed a Saturday.
Yeah.
It was no fun at all.
Free food.
What? Yeah, there was nothing like that for mine. I mean, it was such a different time, and not just my family, but it wasn't just because of me, but my whole class. It was there was a party that night for the kids.
Yeah.
But the all day, let's all hang out with family. It was just kind of yeah, you did it. Now what are you gonna do?
Family get together. Everybody asks you the same stupid question. What are you doing? I don't know. Well, yeah,
I was not prepared for when my son graduated high school in 2019, and we had some family in. We had dinner the night before, had a nice dinner out, and then got together that day. But some of his friends, you could tell, there were blowout parties. I'd never. It was stuff from a movie, it was like a John Hughes movie. I'd be wait, no, you're not honestly doing this for a high school graduation.
Yeah.
Backyard, champagne fountains and crap. I'm what? It's a high school graduation.
For Taylor's high school graduation, I took the KQ urban assault vehicle down to the backyard in Prior Lake, parked it, got it stuck, by the way. That was a fun morning the next morning. My mom was playing beer pong. And pretty sure my dad was shotgunning beers with, I'm not even going to say it, probably with people he shouldn't have been shotgunning beers with. But it was absolute mayhem. I remember it was not at my place. It was at my ex-wife's place. And I remember going back the next morning, and there were kids passed out on there's a steep hill on the back. And, I'm all right. We had to clean up teenagers before we started cleaning up the backyard. It was a knockdown drag out.
Mine was epic. There, I had 6 kegs. Dance floor.
Yes.
Motorcycle gang showed up. My parents were not aware. They were you can have some friends over. I'd put flyers up at the school, warned my neighbors. It was amazing.
The flyers, anybody can come, and then the motorcycles started rolling in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's always a clash, I think, with a lot of high school parties, whenever you get the bikers showing up. Mm-hmm. Good times. I like that. That's rowdy. Your parents were really kind of let you go nuts with that.
My dad just left the house. He got in the car and drove away.
Yep,
he couldn't take the stress.
That's epic. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was. I just can't. I still can't get my head around it. To me, I just think it's I know that high school graduation, it is a big deal. I mean, it's a right, and it makes sense, and it's like something that our entire culture is geared around. You grow up you're watching movies, you're seeing TV. It's the big step towards whatever's coming next. But it's also, I mean, I'm trying to think of how many high school dropouts I actually know. And I know plenty, but I mean, the percentage, it's 1% maybe of the people I know. I mean, it's like something most people get there.
They got us through it.
They drag you
most
across.
Of us. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And especially where I went to high school, Kentucky, where my kids went to high school, Tennessee. If you're in public school and you can't make it, then literally there's no hope for you. I mean, Minnesota's a far better state for public education. Let me tell you something. There's some places where when you see people that are struggling to get through, you're just like, seriously, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, just turn them into a plow horse. I mean, they're asking you to read like, second grade. It's bad. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. It's like, ooh, Tennessee. People are like, wow, your kids went to private school? I'm like, yeah, we were in Tennessee. It wasn't. Not only were we in Tennessee, we were in Nashville.
Tiers below.
You have to understand that was a part of the budgeting. Was we have to be able to. This is part of the plan here. This is not really an option.
Yeah, I like a lot of people on the KQ Facebook post. I get a lot of great smart-ass responses. I like if at first you don't succeed, then skydiving is not for you. That's a great bumper sticker. I like it. But a lot of people are just saying it just doesn't matter. It's not going to matter to you in very long. It's really just about getting out on your own and busting out and making your own bad decisions.
I like the idea of it being hopefully this was something that I thought about a lot when I was a kid, and then I watched my kids both have the same thought, which was now they can just get the hell away and then figure out who they really want to be.
Yeah.
That part was really great. My daughter especially, she goes to college in Virginia, and she had a fine high school, but like her junior and senior year were COVID years. I mean, it's kind of marred by end of her junior year, her whole senior year, and she showed up at school in Virginia and just right away just saw it as like this is the rebirth process. Like, okay, nothing I experienced matters anymore. Start fresh. And I had that theory when I went to school in the fall of '83, but then I would see people from my hometown. I went to school 60 miles away. It wasn't that unusual. And I do remember the feeling of like 3 or 4 days, and I'm like, I'm just, I wouldn't realize I was putting myself into my new persona until I saw someone from my hometown. And then it would always be like this crushing, like, oh, I thought I was getting somewhere with this cool jacket I bought at the Goodwill. Just whatever. Like any little thing. Like, I didn't have these clothes last year, so I'm a new man. This new record I have is changing the way I see the world. I'm a new man. And then I'd see
I've evolved.
And then I'd see, hey, babe, if you need a ride home Friday, I'd be like, damn it.
Yeah. Right.
I'm trying to be a new person here. You're not supposed to know me.
Yeah.
But it is a great, that's what I think back to. The high school graduation itself, the senior quote, of course, that's nonsense. You look back and remember it because you remember it, but it's really all about what are you going to do next, and hopefully that just involves not really having any answers, but at least having some good questions.
Yeah, you don't have to have any answers. Just get out and start living it, start following what it is. I'm not going to come up with any crappy advice for them, but I just went to a tougher school myself. I just went off to the service like so many young kids do young adults do when they get out of high school, and that's a growing experience as well. Probably best that I did, though. Because I had a lot of angst, and they knew exactly where to channel it. Knew exactly what to do with that, running off to the military like that for a little bit. But, yeah, I kind of wish I would have had that summer after, though, and just partied. But I got enough of those. Instead, I decided to do it for a living.
Exactly, yeah. Tony, what was your post-senior year summer? What was happening?
Worked at Pants Plus.
That was the Pants Plus year.
Got some dough.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've heard about Pants Plus around here.
Went to the lake a lot, played Frisbee, had some inexpensive beer.
Yeah. Did you know what you were going to do? Now, you ended up going to college, but, so was that always locked in for you?
Yeah. Well, I knew that was going to happen in the fall. Yeah. But what was beyond
the summer was free.
No idea. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that really carefree summer. Put in a little work and a whole lot of screwing around.
A whole lot of streaking.
I entered the summer thinking I'll probably go to college. I literally didn't apply until sometime in July.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else I would have done. I was already thinking the whole time, like, I think I'll just get a job and buy a drum kit. And then I would look around my small town in Kentucky and go, well, who would I play with? There's no one around that wants to do this kind of thing. And so at some point it was around 4th of July. I was like, hey, wait a minute. They start school in like August, right? Like, I guess I should. I don't think I really want to hang around here. I guess I should go. I mean, it was such a. Just fell into it, and then thank God for the old Pell Grant, or else I would have been right there at the blue jean folding factory. I found myself 4 years later at. Anyway, I would have been there much sooner. Hey, Jeff Gerbino is going to be a part of the second annual Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival. It starts off tonight, runs through Saturday at Crooners in Fridley. He is going to be. He hosted, I should say, last night, which was the first night of the competition, and he's still a part. It's a really cool weekend up in Fridley, and Jeff Gerbino, thankfully, is with us in studio in just a few minutes. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Thursday, June the 6th. Last night, the second annual Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival kicked off up in Fridley. It's going on through Saturday at Crooners. Jeff Gerbino hosted last night. He's headlining Saturday night, and lo and behold, he's in studio with us right now. Good morning, brother.
Great to be here.
An up-and-comer, Jeff Gerbino.
Up and coming for 46 years now.
Hey, man, it's just a matter of time. You've arrived.
I tell people I came here originally from Long Island, New York, and it was like going to a strange foreign land.
Yeah.
They go, hey, you like our pizza? You mean that matzo with sauce and cheese on it? With the unleavened dough? Oh, my God. Where was I? I was like, I had gone to the hinterlands, but it's my comedy birthplace.
And then now, did you come here? So, wait, hold on. First things first, North Shore of Long Island.
Yeah, that's right.
North Shore, I should say, of Long Island. A very special and unique place to itself.
Yes, it is.
It's New York, but it's not New York.
That's right. You 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and you're at a Met game in Shea Stadium.
20 minutes and a million miles from New York City.
But when you're out where we were, you're talking 3 to 5 acre yards.
Yep.
I grew up with woods all around me, a view of Long Island Sound, and yet my father was a subway motorman.
Yeah,
he
right.
had the most city-oriented job you could have.
Yeah.
So we knew our way around the tubes back then.
Yeah, that's right.
But I came to Minneapolis for love and love of kind. I met a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, from Melrose, Minnesota, Stearns County.
Okay.
And I never forget, it was like every woman I grew up with in New York was like Laverne DeFazio. Or talk like the nanny.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was like, blonde-haired, blue eyes.
Yeah.
She speaks in a clear tone.
That is as exotic as it gets, man.
She doesn't look at me and go, I swear to God. I swear to God.
That's great.
This is what I grew up in. And I came here, and I remember Louis Anderson looking at me one time, and he goes, you did a Minnesota accent. Mm-hmm. I didn't know we had one. He goes, Louis in that style of his, we're so dumb, we think everybody's like us.
Yeah, sure. You mentioned Louis. You started here at a time, man, there was no shortage of great comic talent in the Twin Cities.
Well, it was just being birthed, though.
Yeah.
We're talking about, the beginning of the galaxies and star systems. Well, Mickey Finn's was the black hole of comedy.
That was it.
The gravitational point. A guy hired me after a comedy contest that I did not win, which pissed me off. It's like November of 77, Steve Billings, who I'm going to have lunch with later today. The first guy to hire me. He says, January, we want to do Friday, Saturday here at this AFL-CIO building, Central and University.
Uh-huh.
And I said, $25 a night? Oh, my God, I'm rich.
Yeah.
Because I never got done anything. The only thing back then were gong shows and talent contests.
Right.
And you know how long a comic lasts in one of those? It's 30 seconds or less, and you're done. You're off. You're gonged, or you're out of there. So here we had a place that was comedy. Now, we only had like 3 or 4 guys. Mm-hmm. Bill Bauer was the first one to join me, and then Alex Cole came along. And then Louis in October 78 walks in there.
Wow.
And hates the story. He's gone now, Louis, so you're up in heaven, so I can tell it.
Yeah.
He brought everybody from the St. Joseph's home in St. Paul. He was a counselor there,
Yep.
He brought everybody. I mean, the janitor was there. And that was the night KTCA PBS was there to tape us. And I remember Bill going, we cannot let all these people in there. They showed up at 7 o'clock for an 8 o'clock show.
That's awesome.
And so he looks fantastic. In his very first set, he was doing props and acting like a clown, material which he would never admit he ever did.
Sure.
And I told him, I said, next week, you come here Friday. I said, without your people, all right? And I'm going to watch you bomb. And when he walked off, I was waiting in the hallway, and he had flop sweat all over him. And I said, how you like me now?
Yeah, boy.
I said, he learned the hard way. But we became really good friends, and he became such a natural. He found out later that it wasn't so much the material, it was his personality. And when he learned, I was the first person to have, Scott had been emceeing, and he used to get too nervous doing it. And I said, why don't we let Louis try it? You know? And Louis started being so good with the off-the-cuff stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the big thing at Mickey Finn starting out. You know, we were talking Jeff Cesario, Alex Cole, Gail Mathias, who went on to Saturday Night Live. I mean, it's a pretty heady group of people.
Sure.
You know, that we started out with.
Cesario and I
Joel Hodgson at the end of my reign. It was just,
absolutely.
This guy came down and went, I think I want to do comedy. I just got out of high school.
I saw him on HBO Young Comics for the first time, way before Mystery Science Theater.
Right.
And then he kind of disappeared for a bit, but he was on my radar right away. I was like, man, that guy he's got his whole own thing going on. And then I've been friends with Cesario for years. We met in LA a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I, through his stories of with Louis and you and other names, over the years, I got a little bit of a sense of what was going on up here. It's almost kind of, I mean, I look at the Twin Cities comedy scene back then. It's kind of CBGB in the 70s. It's the punk bands all found themselves and found each other, and so many great and very different comic voices found each other here.
Yeah, well, it was a real, a bit of a macho thing, too, because who's got the new 5-10 minutes? And if you did, you were top cat, for that week. And so I was always pushing for that because I used to MC one part and go on in the second half. You got to remember, he looked at us and said, you got to kill 3 hours now. We want this to go from like 8 till 11.
Yeah, sure.
And we're not a band. We can't just break into Johnny Be Good,
Yeah, right.
Hey, let's do some Steve Martin up here.
Right.
How about some Robin Williams? And so that was the competitiveness of it. So in the beginning, we needed guys to stretch. And I used to look at guys going, that's it?
Yeah.
You got 7 minutes, and that's when me and Louis go, we better come up with something.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And Scott and I we would just create bits while the other act was on. Let's try this thing out. Let's try that thing out. And so it was a very experimental time. We weren't making a lot of money, but I wouldn't trade those times for anything because it was so unique. We were creating something that didn't exist. There was no comedy clubs. They didn't exist.
I think of you guys like in a Rat Pack, the Minneapolis Rat Pack back then. Did you guys ever get on stage and do stuff together,
Yeah.
Bits and routines together?
Yeah, we did. Louis, Scott, and I used to do a thing called bookends, right? Stand between them. And we'd go, which fat guy do you want to ask? Or the straight guy in the middle? And we would have people throw questions up at us, How much do you weigh? And then Louis would chime in, and do that. And Louis and Scott had a lot of competition back then. They used to compete. Anything would create competition. But Louis goes, well, if he ever did fat stuff, he doesn't do fat stuff. But if he did, he'd just blow me away. And when they'd get into it, I'd just stop and go, Battle of the Big Men.
Yeah.
This is WWE stuff, And they would go at it, and it was we were faking it and making it all at the same time.
Fantastic. Jeff Gerbino's in the studio with us on the KQ Morning Show. Jeff is up at Loons on the Lake, the second annual Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival. Now it's running. Started last night, going through Saturday at Crooners in Fridley. You will be headlining Saturday night. You said,
yeah.
One of the comedians, an up and comer. It's a competition as well. Someone's going to win $10,000 up there this week.
That pisses me off because that's more than I'm making. That's a lot
that was
more
my
than
next
I'm
question.
Making. Yeah, and I was
got the
watching
wrong side of the table on this one.
And it used to be I could read those things better. I was completely wrong. It was two different. They had 8-person competition, and we did 2 shows, and I picked who I thought won. I've lost my comedy radar. I was wrong on every pick I made. The top 4 people, I say it was 2 women and 2 men, were just, the ages were different. There wasn't ageism going on. There was an older guy who won, a young guy who won, and some people who just shouldn't be in comedy at all. I just want to go, whatever it is you want to do, find something else.
Right.
But, this is how you find out, too,
I guess guess that's true. One thing that never changes, generation to generation, and this is something I've been a musician for many years, you have immediate feedback to this day. They're laughing or they're not. It's pretty much that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the Will Rogers who said, "Pity the comedian. His license is up at the end of every punchline."
It's very true.
Yeah, and it sort of is. I was hitting the audience last night. It's one of my unique lines where I go, "Look, folks, just understand something here. Crowds can bomb too. And right now you're at about a 5.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, out of a possible 10. So let's take it up a few notches here. Because crowds can bomb. I'm serious about that too.
Well, so had you done any comedy back in New York, or did that start after you got to Minnesota?
No, I managed a rock band. That was where I got my first taste of it. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the King Biscuit Blues Band, who had every brush with fame you could possibly have, went over to England, met Mick Jagger and the Stones, who were interested in him. I had the road number of Ian Stewart, the road manager of the Stones. I was making calls to L.A., and here I am living in my mom and dad's house, you know.
I was going to say, well, you're a young guy managing a band that's traveling around the world.
Yeah, I'm in college, you know, and I'm getting them on TV and radio because they had an interesting backstory. They were a little bit older. When I say older, I'm talking mid-20s.
Of course.
I'm 19, 20,
I
you know.
Yeah.
But they're getting impressed with me because I'm getting the media, and I sort of got a taste for it, you know.
Yeah.
I even had one record company offer me to go be a talent scout for him at one point, you know, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, you know, but that I just remembered when we would book them at places, I go, are all these clubs sleazy? Yeah. Oh, my God, they're so dingy. And every blues rock club, it just had the smell of urine and disappointment.
And the answer was, yes, they are.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, they are.
Well, you know, you've been to those rock and roll clubs.
I certainly have.
How hasn't the Board of Health come in here and just canceled this
some
entire
things are
thing?
better left unsaid and unnoticed and unturned over.
That's right, really. They were good, but at that point in time, disco was coming in. They don't want to hear some blues band doing some Southern blues, for God's sakes. A bunch of white guys from Queens, you know.
Wow.
It's like, you know, they're trying, but they were good. But I got them more publicity than they ever deserved.
Right.
And a small recording contract was then Atlantic Records.
Wow.
And I felt like I'd done my share, and I got my money, and headed off to comedy.
Headed off to comedy, and then after a few years in the Twin Cities, how long were you here before you went to L.A.?
Let's see, 76 to 81.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was the whole 80s pretty much out in L.A. And then you go out there, and then you're in the Comedy Store, and you're going, you know, I was doing 45 minutes to an hour here. What? I got to do 10? And then there's a woman named Mitzi Shore in the back of the thing, and the whole plate. And there's another darkness. She loved black. She wore black dresses all the time.
Yeah.
And the whole club is black. The toilets are black. Everything is black. I'm not exaggerating when I say the toilets are black. And the biggest thing was you had to get past her or Bud Friedman at the Improv, but that was a lesser place at that point. And my name is out there in that Comedy Store, and that was the thing. They put your name on the wall outside. And mine is right as you come in, man. Look to the left.
Boom, still there.
Nice. And I tell people, so we had a 50th anniversary a few years back, and I was out there for it. Yeah, everybody was there. Oh, God, let's see. Gary Shanley was gone at that point, but Richard Lewis was still with us. Steve Martin came to it.
Yeah.
There was a whole gaggle of folks.
That sounds awesome.
That came, and that was the big deal. You know, you want to talk about macho, you know, wow. It was to get your name on that wall, become a regular at the Comedy Store, and do that.
Well, that very much is like CBGB in New York. You know, if for a scene anyway, that was an epicenter, and Mitzi's a hugely famous and influential person. I mean, people that don't really follow comedy still know about that place, that era, and that woman, and what she did for all these comedians.
And she gave birth to the demon seed, Pauly Shore.
Well, she did.
You know?
Well, you can't.
Whose father was a hack opening act in Vegas. She ran the club because she took it away from
the
father.
Nobody bats 1,000. Okay?
Yeah, right. But he had no choice. I mean, what was he going to do? He grew up around comedy. He tells a very funny story about, I didn't have a normal childhood. My mom put me in Little League. She didn't come to the games. You know who had at the games? Dice Clay, Sam Kinison going, come on, damn it. Paulie, get a hit, damn it. Hurry up. They're smoking joints on the third baseline. Yeah. They go, that's when I grew up. So I thought, man, he's got some excuses for the way he is.
He certainly does.
Yeah.
So at the time, so when you, as a dad yourself, by the time you had kids, at some point you thought, okay, let's get out of here.
Yeah, I just, they didn't sign up for that detail.
Yeah.
And I was married to a Minnesota woman, you know.
Right.
And Minnesota women are like
so that worked out.
They're like
woman
salmon.
You left New York for.
Yeah, but when it comes to kids, they're like salmon. They go upstream and spawn. and let's not forget what happens to the male salmon. He dies and floats downstream.
That's right.
So I was married for over a quarter of a century, you know. But the kids, we came back here,
right?
You know, and it was nice to have a place to come back to because a lot of those guys in L.A. they were stuck. There was no place that they had to go back to. So I felt the Twin Cities was a warm, artistic environment that kind of let you do what you wanted to do. Yeah. And I came back here, and I did morning drive. I tried to compete with Tommy B. I gave it a ride a couple of years. Of course, I got saddled with his former partner and his former newswoman there, Dan Colhane, and I can't remember the Mary something her name was. I think. Anyway, I understood.
Marianne Sullivan.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Yep. There you go. And of course, I could always do Yell Fan. You know, he was, just keeping track of ERAs and things like dog racing.
Different time.
We're in Stretch. Is he around?
All before my time, sadly.
He's sleeping in probably. He doesn't like to get up anymore.
Doesn't he?
No, he didn't sleep forever, you know, and he was always, he'd come into the morning show after being up all night, you know, and a bit irascible, but then he got it all figured out.
Yeah.
We tried to coax him back in a couple of times. He's like, I don't get up till the morning show is over.
That's that.
He was my when I was on the air. He was the only guy from KQ who would talk to me.
Oh yeah,
because I became the enemy for about 2.5 years. But he'd always go, "All right, he's pretty pissed about what you're doing right now." And I said, "Well, I hope so."
Yeah,
I said, but I learned how tough it is to do radio too, because I would still be at the clubs at night. And now it's 12 o'clock, and I got to go home. And I realized
that's brutal.
Now it's 4:30. I got to be up and find something funny to say at 5:30. You know, I was like, "This is not easy."
No,
I had a wrong impression because I was always a guest on radio shows.
Yeah.
I was never responsible for what went on, and that's what I learned.
The first time I ever turned on a mic and it was my show, I hand to God, they're like, okay, the guy, there's a producer, like something from a movie from the 80s. He's literally with the hand going 5, 4 through the glass, giving me the countdown. And I turned that light on. I saw the red light. I turned the mic on, saw the red light come on, and the first thought I had was, I have made the worst mistake of my life. I don't know what in the hell I was thinking.
That
doing
head
this.
to toe shock you go through at that moment.
Truly head to toe.
Yeah, it's a physical, visceral thing because your body wants to run away. It's fight or flight.
It's great to be the wild card guest. It's awesome.
Yeah, I always enjoyed that. I used to go on Bob and Tom and Imus in New York. I had people there. Yeah. Howard had me on in a while, but that was back in his terrestrial radio days.
Right,
you know, and I was incredible. You know, I guess everyone has to worship me. You know, and
of course,
and he was at the height of his megalomaniac days. But I realized I was never going to be able to do that here.
Yeah, right.
The palate was not ready for that kind of stuff. That's why Tommy had been out there, and he took a sample and said, "How do I do that back here?" You know, and I could be the 800-pound gorilla, but not to the tune that Imus and Howard were in that market. And he was a smart guy doing the right thing.
Yeah,
and it took him a little while to get it going, but once he did, he owned this market.
But you always had the comfort on stage. You didn't feel that when you got on stage.
No. Okay. Once you got past the initial, horrible shock. There's nothing worse than 10 seconds before your intro, and you're being intro, and you're going, I forgot everything I was going to say. And the mouth gets dry, and you go, why did I want to do this? And there you are, and there's 23 people, and is that guy drunk over there? And by the way, there's nothing worse. I've determined this over the years now, than a drunk woman in a crowd. A drunk man will sometimes just finally give it up, or he'll finally get hauled out. But a woman never shuts up. I tell you something out. It's like I'm talking to a mannequin. You know what I mean? With a mouth, and you're like going. The worst of all is one because they're just semi-coherent. And they think they're making sense. they're not.
My son is 23, and his summer job, which he just got, I haven't even told you guys this. He's serving at Zany's in Nashville. It's a comedy club in Nashville. You know it, but to anyone listening, it's the Acme of Nashville. It's been there over 40 years, if you will. And he got a summer gig there serving. I mean, he's waiting at tables and bringing in their drinks, and he's just in his first week on his own. He was, training and all that. And he's only been to a couple comedy shows in his life in clubs. He'd seen bigger acts in theaters and stuff, but being in the real comedy clubs. Yeah. And I was like, so how is it? And he was like, I just didn't know how drunk people got at these shows. I'm like, it's the first week of June, bud. You got a lot to learn until August when you're out of there. And he said he's already had a couple nights where people are like, he goes, I want to walk over and go, shut the hell up. But the person on stage is handling it, of course. But.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I always like to find out if there's any kind of room manager that I can be with, because there's a point at which you want them to intervene. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because
you don't want to be mad guy on stage after a while, but it's so annoying.
Yeah, you start sounding like your third grade teacher. And it is the worst class I have ever had in my life.
Like in a rock band, obviously, people jump on stage sometimes. You don't want them up there. They'll throw stuff, whatever. But the single worst thing that can happen, and it's happened many times, is one person shows up and they have a tambourine. That person never knows how to keep time, and you'd be amazed at how loud one tambourine in the crowd is. The whole band's look at each other going, where is the one? It can throw everyone off like that.
I had no idea about that.
It's
the
incredible.
Tambourine thing?
One tambourine,
and that throws the drummer off
in the wrong hands. Well, as the drummer, I would close my eye. I'd go into a zone of focus, like get that away from me. This is not a jazz performance, ladies and gentlemen. We are not trying to syncopate. It's pretty funny.
Well, that's my favorite heckler story. Is that you never get revenge of the comic. I call this one. It was in Columbus, Ohio, of all places, everyone's favorite test market in America. And I was test marketing. There's a stand-up. I was part of a comedy caravan. It was a caravan. It never ended. But if you wanted to get in with this agent, you had to do his 17 nights of one-nighters through Ohio to Indiana to Iowa. So I was doing it and paying my dues with him. This drunk guy at some convention that was at that hotel decides he's going to just get up on stage with me. Time for me to be up there, And I'm thinking, and it turned into a hellacious thing you're talking about, where I finally had to call the manager in and pull this guy out. But I swear to God, the next day I'm walking around the hotel because I had 2 more shows to do there, and I look around. I see the guy's up. He's at the microphone. He's talking to people. He's all good now. He's not hungover. He's out there and he's being himself. And I ran down to the bar and went, give me a drink, anything, make it look like a drink. I said, and I walked in, I threw a jacket on, and I walked up and took the mic away from him.
There you go.
And said, this guy was on stage last night all drunk, and they took him in the hallway, and he threw up. Did you know that? Don't listen to a word he has to say. Man. And it was like revenge of the comic. So one time I got a heckler back in the truest form.
No kidding. That's
Yeah, you're going to tell these people what to do, and they should see what you did in the club last night.
There were comics all over the planet who, for some reason, suddenly felt some warm wind. Something feels better all of a sudden.
There was a movement.
I don't know. It's like a neck rub all of a sudden right here.
There was an exhale and a relaxation.
Somebody just got something over on someone for all of us.
Oh, because it was so. And what's funny was apparently the people at that convention they were at knew him well enough that they laughed their asses off.
That's great.
Because I was fully ready for them.
Sure.
Have me hauled out of there. Instead, they were peeing their pants. Because apparently he had quite the rep, this guy.
Jeff Gerbino is a Saturday night up at Crooners in Fridley as part of the Loons on the Lake Comedy Festival. Go to loonsonthelake.com if you need some more information.
Yeah, and like I said, they're trying to give away some tickets to the Friday International Comedy thing.
International Comedy.
Well, they're really trying to make a big production out of it, and they're doing a pretty good job.
Second year is, it's you get to 3, 4, 5, you're good. But the first year is trying to establish something new. It's a lot of work. So good on you for being a part of it.
I got a little axe to grind with some of those British comics and come over here,
Well, sure.
And even Dave Chappelle, always talking about, you need to be on the edge. You need to push the envelope. Yeah, you know what? You do a Nights of Columbus for $500 on a Friday night. Tell me how edgy you want to get with that crowd. Tell me how much you want to push it out there. Because they're still holding your check, jackass.
That's it.
I got a club for some of these guys to play. And these Brits who come up with their boutique peak audience. They got 2,200 people at the Paramount Theater in New York.
Yeah.
Hey, come over here. I got a CYO club for you over here in Fridley that you might want to try out. All right?
That's great. Jeff, sit tight. We have one order of business, and that is we have to take a quick look back. It's June 6th. On this day in 1946, at the Hotel Commodore in New York City, the NBA was formed. How about that? Your New York Knickerbockers, one of only 3 teams from that era who still exist.
Wow.
I'm assuming you grew up a Knicks fan.
Yes, I did. I was definitely a Knicks fan, yep. Yeah,
good era back in the day for those Knicks.
Let's see, 69-70 and 72-73 were the championship
Not
years.
bad years. The Golden State Warriors, who were the Philadelphia Warriors, and the Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks. That's it from that era.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.